Starkville is alive perhaps like never before. An overflow crowd, about 42,000 on hand at Scott Field as the Egg Bowl returns to campus for the first time in 19 years, returns to Starkville for the first time in 20 years, dating back to 1971. And good afternoon and welcome to Scott Field. I'm Phil Van Horn, your host for this gray, chilly Saturday afternoon. Mississippi State and Ole Miss first started playing football way back in 1901. Back then, Mississippi State was Mississippi A&M. They have played, well, 88 times since then, and they have contested the Golden Egg 62 times. Mississippi has won 45 of those contests. The Bulldogs 13 victories. There have been 4 ties. Even though this series dates back nearly a century, there's plenty new this year. Most notably, new head coach Jackie Sherrill of Mississippi State. He has instilled renewed enthusiasm here in Starkville. After this game, the Bulldogs set their sights on the Liberty Bowl to take on the Air Force Falcons. For Ole Miss, faint bowl hopes remained, ever so faint. For them to go to the Copper Bowl in Tucson, Arizona, a couple of things must happen. First, the Indiana Hoosiers must lose this afternoon in their big rivalry game against the Purdue Boilermakers. Then Ole Miss must win this game against the Bulldogs for Ole Miss to be considered an option, a strong option for the Copper Bowl in Arizona. Well, that sets the scene. Let's get to the teams. And we lead off by taking a look at the defending champs of the Egg Bowl. We lead off with Billy Brewer's Ole Miss Rebels. With a strong 9-3 finish last season and some key lettermen returning on offense, Ole Miss came into the 1991 campaign with high hopes. But after a promising 5-1 start, the Rebels dropped 4 in a row, including last week's battle with the Tennessee Volunteers. Coach Brewer's squad may have also lost a shot at their 3rd straight bowl bid. However, with a bitter backyard feud, the Rebels will be motivated.
Oh, it's a totally different ball game. I mean, can't beat it. I mean, this is like the biggest game of the season by far. No matter, you just throw out the records. It's a rivalry. And, I mean, games like this, you just play to another level.
First of all, you know, it's Mississippi State, and I think everybody knows what that means. It's been a big rivalry, and it's the last game that I'll ever play at Ole Miss. And see, if we win this one, we have a winning season, 6-5. So we have to win this one.
Even though Mississippi State edged the Rebels for the Liberty Bowl bid, Coach Jackie Sherrill is wary and impressed with the Rebs' big play potential.
They have certain plays that you have to stop, and those certain plays that you have to stop are explosive plays. You know, they run. You're talking about the screen, you're talking about the trap option, you're talking about the draw. You know, those plays are extremely tough. Offensively, they do a lot of different things.
Meanwhile, Coach Brewer and company realize the victory over Mississippi State can make their season.
This is a long-standing game of 88 years of being played in great tradition. And so this is a game that I've always liked as a player and always enjoy as a coach.
Because it's a rivalry, they don't like us and we don't like them, but I just think, you know, my last game going out, I want to have the best game I can.
That's about all sums it up. Mississippi State, I'll tell you, it's from the game last year to the fight last year. Oh, this will make up for all the other losses. So.
Well, no wonder Billy Brewer has enjoyed this rivalry as a player and coach. Consider that this year, even though his team is an underdog, let's take a look at his record. Coach Brewer has only lost once. The player Brewer has never lost in this game, Ole Miss against Mississippi State. In fact, his accumulative record against his rival school is 10-1. All right, I'll be reporting from the sideline throughout this afternoon, but for now, for more on Mississippi State, let's go up to the booth and my partner, Doug Bell. Thank you very much, Phil Van Horn, and you're right, this is an electrifying atmosphere in Starkville as we prepare for today's football game. Throw in a chill in the air, which is becoming colder by the minute, and it just adds more flavor to what is really one of the finest rivalries in all of college football. And speaking of big time in college football and in this rivalry, Archie Manning on my left, Steve Freeman, a former Mississippi State defensive back on my right, two guys who played key roles when they played in this Egg Bowl rivalry. And turning to Archie, you know a little bit about the quarterbacking position, and tell me what's going to happen with Ole Miss today. Well, Tommy Luke will start the game. Tommy Luke was a big part of the Rebels' 9-2 season last year. Ideally, when the season began this year, Russ Showers would be the starter, probably play about 70% of the time. He's a better passer, and Tommy Luke would come in, run the wishbone, kind of give a different look to the defense. Showers was coming along good. Unfortunately, he was injured against Vanderbilt, so Luke's played the last couple of weeks. Also, a young guy named Steve Davis has played a limited amount of time. Tommy Luke will start the game today. Russ Showers can play. He's got a bad ankle. He'll have a hard time with the pass rush coming at him, and Mississippi State has a very good pass rush.
Yeah, one of the big weapons for Ole Miss is a little fellow by the name of Tyrone Ashley, who does just about everything for Billy Brewer.
He's a great all-around football player, and he's played a lot of positions at Ole Miss. He's been a wide receiver, he's been a defensive back, this year a running back, and he's returned kickoffs. The leading rusher for Ole Miss, played some defense in specialized situations last week and made 3 tackles, could return a kickoff, had an 82-yard TD reception last week from Tommy Luke. Good all-around player. He'll be a good pro player.
Yeah, Mississippi State an 8-point favorite today, the first time in years that the Bulldogs have been favored over the Rebels. Of course, it's been one of those years for Jackie Sherrill's bunch. They've done a lot of things people did not expect. Sherrill has renewed the interest in the team around here, and they're going places. When Jackie Sherrill came to Mississippi State, he set 2 goals for his team in 1991. First, to have a winning record, and second, to earn a bowl bid. Both dreams were realized last Saturday in Baton Rouge. The Bulldogs beat LSU to guarantee a winning record and lock up a Liberty Bowl bid. Sherrill took a lot of pleasure in telling his players of State's first bowl trip since 1981.
It's a great feeling because you know that how much they have worked, and you know that all the work that's been that has been put into it, from the coaches to the players to everybody, managers, trainers, and then you come back and you realize that this was one of their goals. The first, to have a winning season, which they accomplished, and the second was to go to a bowl game. And whenever you have that opportunity to kind of break the news to somebody that this, from all your hard work, this is your reward, it turned out for them, and they were very excited.
The excitement of a bowl trip has quickly subsided. Next on Sherrill's agenda is beating an Ole Miss team that has defeated the Bulldogs 3 years in a row. Making this game even bigger are the 108 Mississippi natives on both squads. The battle for the Golden Egg is tantamount to a statewide civil war.
You got a lot of different backgrounds and roots that go. And it's big for our players because we probably have 60-some odd percent or 70% of our players from the state of Mississippi, and it's big to them. And it's a thing where they themselves played against some of these players in high schools. They themselves have played with them. But yet, right now, they're on the other side, and we're playing on Saturday.
Anytime you enter this game with great hopes, and it's always an exciting game and always a highly emotional game. And so I guess when you finish your career at Mississippi State, they will ask you how you did against Mississippi. So we're hoping to finish this one up with a win.
Steve Freeman returns to his alma mater for the first time this season, but nevertheless has been keeping up with the Bulldogs, especially on offense, where Watson Brown and Jackie Sherrill have come in and done a tremendous job.
Right, they have done a good job. They brought a young team on and have developed and become one of the better college football teams in the nation right now, I feel like. As far as Watson Brown goes, in his type offenses, he's proved last week that he can keep you off balance. He come in against LSU, put in a wishbone and ran 70 times and threw 4 times. That's pretty good coming into a game that you've never done that much of. As far as today, I look for them to come out in their no-huddle offense and just run a basic offense like they've been running all year long.
Yeah, being an old DB, though, I guess you like the defensive guys, especially the big hoss in the middle, Nate Williams.
Right, being defensive back, you always like those guys up front that can put the pressure on, and Mississippi State does lead the SEC in sacks this year. That helps that defensive back a lot. Nate Williams has come on in Jackie Sherrill's mind from a scale of 1 to 10 player, starting as a 3 last year in spring training, come on and has developed into an 8 or 9 player. He's going to be a pro prospect. He's going to be probably worth a lot of money someday.
Steve knows something about being a pro prospect. He spent 12 years in the National Football League. Let's go down to the field now with more from Phil Van Horn.
All right, Doug, let's take a look at others.
Here's the toss. The captains are in the center of the field. Mississippi State has deferred. Mississippi State will kick off to the Rebs. There you see it. 41,200 here at Scott Field, a capacity crowd. A good look at Billy Brewer, 7-1 against Mississippi State. Never lost to him as a player. Jackie Sherrill, the first time he's ever been involved in this rivalry. He's been involved in some good ones as a player. For Alabama, he took on Auburn. And as a coach at Pittsburgh, they played Penn State, Texas, Texas A&M, and now Ole Miss, Mississippi State. It is a chilly day here in Starkville. As you see, the wind is swirling. This is not a bowl stadium, so the wind could be a factor. The temperature is 47 degrees. 10 minutes ago, they said it was 51 degrees. Whoa, hopefully it won't continue to drop. You see the wind south, out of the south, 15 miles per hour. Archie Manning, wind could be a factor, especially when you consider Ole Miss is going to throw the ball.
Oh, I think it definitely can be a factor, Doug, and Ole Miss has got the ball first, so they'll be going into the wind. I really expect Ole Miss to try to throw the ball early and try to throw deep. Now, I'm not sure they really, they'd love to hit it, but if they don't, I think they'd like to loosen things up a little bit on Mississippi State. Mississippi State leads the SEC in sacks. They got some really good big people. They come at the quarterback good. The good thing about Luke, although he's not as good a passer as Shouse, he does move around pretty good. He's probably going to have to.
Ole Miss will have the ball first, but Steve Freeman, you said you do not expect that wishbone look from the Bulldogs like they had last week. Okay, we're having a few problems with Steve's microphone. We'll repair that. Let's get ready for the kickoff. Chris Gardner will kick off for Mississippi State. He wears number 18. Out of Brandon, Mississippi, most of these youngsters are homeboys, if you will. Jackie Sherrill did institute the Mad Dog unit, which he uses just regular students on kickoffs, but for SEC games, only 2 or 3 are members of the Mad Dog unit. The rest are scholarship athletes. The ball is taken at the 25, broken down the sidelines, out of bounds around the 37-yard line or so. We'll see exactly where they mark the football. Tyrone Ashley returned the football for the Rebs.
Of course, Vincent Brownlee, Doug, is been their top kickoff return guy. We've got 2 of the best kickoff return people in the Southeastern Conference, maybe in the country in this game today. Brownlee and James from Mississippi State. Ashley returned a kickoff all the way for Ole Miss in the Gator Bowl last year against the University of Michigan. Of course, he's the young man that's played a lot of positions for Ole Miss. He'll be the starting running back today.
That's Darren Billings, number 39 for the Reds. Shaken up a bit. Walks off the field. Looks like he might have done something to his back. Here we are, 1st and 10 from the 32. Luke back to pass, just as Archie told us. He goes deep, hopefully to loosen things up, and it was nearly intercepted. A good defensive play by number 30, Tony Harris, for Mississippi State. Now here's a look at the Ole Miss offense. Tom Luke is the junior quarterback. Russ Shouse will play today. Good receivers for Ole Miss. The question is, will they get the ball to them? Vincent Brownlee, they say, the highest rated receiver in the Southeastern Conference. On the line, Ole Miss, relatively small. Everett Lindsey, the biggest of the lot, at 6'5", 280 pounds.
Well, Ole Miss did come out throwing. That was a beautiful pass by Tommy Luke, but outstanding coverage in the secondary. Fine cornerback in Tony Harris from Mississippi State.
2nd and 10. It's the option play. That's Luke's specialty. He's hammered down after a gain of a couple.
He was hammered too, Doug. Tommy Luke makes good decisions on the option. Outstanding option quarterback from Gulfport, Mississippi. Runs well, pitches, but I tell you, he's got to get forward a little more there. Those state linebackers are very physical throughout their team.
And the defensive line isn't bad themselves. Jerome Brown is the anchor on the left side, the same name as that infamous NFL player. Keith Joseph, a big kid on the outside. And look for Kelvin Knight, their big play man in the defensive secondary. It's 3rd and 6 from the 36. Luke back to pass. And he's pressured, will run for it, and he slides short of the first down. The Rebels will have to punt.
Well, Mississippi State came with that good pass rush. I didn't get the number. Someone broke through and really disrupted the follow-through throw that Tommy Luke wanted. He elected to run, could not get enough of the first down, and Ole Miss will have to punt into this win. Let's be awake right here. Ole Miss had a punt block last week against Tennessee, and Mississippi State has indicated they're coming after Chisholm, the punter, today.
Richard Chisholm, averaging 42 yards of punt. Better than 42 yards, actually, having a good season in that department. Deep for Mississippi State. They say one of the best return men in all of college football. Tony James, excuse me. Uh-oh. A mistake, the first big one of the game, and Chisholm is down. It'll be Mississippi State's football on the 24-yard line.
That's a backbreaker right there.
What happened, Steve? Did you see it?
It looked like a good snap. Looked like it was just mishandled, and the punter dropped the ball. They had a good rush coming from the outside, and they were able to. It was a decent snap. He could have picked it up. He dropped the ball, and the defense was on him before he could get anything done.
Well, we mentioned it. Mississippi State thought they could block one today. They still may, but Steve's exactly right. He just didn't handle the punt, and Mississippi State has excellent field position.
They showed us the wishbone there. Sleepy Robinson, the handoff to Kenny Roberts, who gains about 5 yards around the left side. Here's the Mississippi State offense, led by William Robinson, better known as Sleepy, and he can run the option with the best of them. Tony James, we mentioned his status, preseason All-American, and he's living up to all that ink. Bill Sarton is only a sophomore, but 6'2", 299. Looks like he has room to grow, and that's bad news for Mississippi State opponents. It'll be 2nd and 6 from the 20. Sleepy Robinson calling the signals, and they're in that wishbone look as they were last week against LSU.
Looks like he's checking off here, Doug.
Robinson gets stopped for a loss, and a nice play for Ole Miss.
That's a big play for Ole Miss. They need to make them kick a field goal right here, not get a lot of momentum going.
That was Jeff Carter on the stop. As we look at the Ole Miss lineup on defense, Chad Brown is the right tackle. He's a big fellow who will be in on several tackles. Philip Kent is a senior, wears number 84, attacks from the outside. He's been around forever, it seems. Johnny Dixon, the speed merchant in the defensive secondary, has a lot of tackles. Lead third in that department on the Ole Miss team. Archie, you've been there before. Look at Tommy Luke.
Yeah, I've been there too many times. Got a little smelling salts from Dr. Jerry Hopkins right there. Of course, Russ Shouse can play, but he's got a bad ankle.
Sleepy Robinson back to pass, wide open in the end zone. It's a touchdown, Bulldogs.
Well, that was a great throw by Sleepy Robinson right there.
Willie Harris.
He got behind Danny Boyd, the cornerback there. Just a perfect throw. Harris never had to break stride running that corner pattern right there. Ole Miss had in multiple defensive backs, more a nickel scheme, but it's like man-to-man coverage by Boyd, and Harris does the number on him.
Archie, when you put in that nickel down there in the situation where they've got running folks in the ballgame, it's hard to match up. And the guy ran a good corner out, open for the touchdown. They had a guy wide open in the flat also, so it looked like there might have been some confusion on Ole Miss's part.
Chris Gardner makes it a 7-0 game, 11:48 to go in the first quarter, and Mississippi State, an 8-point favorite coming in, jumps on top early with a touchdown, and that was one of those passes that had to be perfect, and it was.
Well, absolutely. Of course, they faked the option, which is a threat to Ole Miss with Sleepy Robinson being. They had a good rush coming in there for Ole Miss. He threw it under pressure, as I said before. I mean, just couldn't have been a better throw to Harris, their leading receiver.
Willie Harris.
You know, I think that's Harris's first touchdown reception of the year. He's an outstanding receiver. He leads their team in receiving with 21 catches and is averaging 22 yards a catch. But he brings in his first touchdown, and I'm sure he's proud of that one. Willie Smith with a 24-yard touchdown reception. 3 plays, 24 yards, all resulting in that mishandled snap on the punt. And Mississippi State cashes in, needing only 1 minute and 29 seconds. Willie Harris, by the way, is a cousin of Emmitt Smith, the outstanding running back for the Dallas Cowboys. He's not bad.
Not bad. Good bloodlines in that family, I believe.
Well, for Ole Miss, this is not the type of start you want, especially when you're on the road. Certainly a partisan crowd over at Starkville today in a beautiful setting, and your quarterback gets a little dizzy there on your first series. You don't convert, mess up your a snap, or really fielding a snap, and give State excellent field position, and then State takes advantage, and Ole Miss falls behind 7-0. The Rebs came out throwing in their first possession. If Russ Shouse comes into the game, they'll certainly continue that. Here's the kick. Fielded at the 6-yard line. Here come the Rebs. Again, running in that right sideline for decent yardage, just like they did to open the game. Well, it looks like Mississippi State is kicking away from Vincent Brownlee. He's averaging 23.5 on his kickoff returns this year, but Ashley's not a bad hand back there either.
Tyrone Ashley, we spoke with him at the beginning of the game. We also talked of Russ Xiao, the big kid.
Well, we don't know. I think this is probably because of the injury to Tommy Luke, or Tommy's kind of shaken up a little bit, but Russ Xiao's in. Now, what will follow, you notice Russ has got on some high-top shoes. I'm sure it's heavily taped. He's got a bad left ankle, and Red Parker, the coordinator, told me that he could not go to his left.
From the 27, this is Xiao. And the option. Ashley falls forward for about 8 or 9. Good game.
That was a nice option play. You know, the one thing about Xiao's, Mississippi State has got to know that he's got a bad ankle. I just wonder if they're going to allow him to keep the ball on that option if he continues to do it.
I think they need to force him to do that. Coach Sherrill yesterday, in talking with him in an interview yesterday, he was concerned about Mississippi State stopping the option. They have not really played a pure option team this year, and he was a little concerned about stopping the option play.
Both these quarterbacks, Doug, do a pretty good job of running the option. Of course, Luke probably the better, but Russ, for a big kid, 6'4", is a better passer, but handles the ball real well on the option play.
A dazed Tom Luke looks on. Russ Xiao, 2nd and 3, rolls right, and he's tackled. Possibly a loss of 1 by Daniel Boyd, the leading tackler on the Bulldog team.
Well, outstanding player, Boyd. What a outstanding linebacker. Sprint out right. We'll make note of that from Russ Xiao. As I mentioned, it's that left ankle. It's going to be hard for him to go left. Now, he went to the right, had some room, but was really run down by Boyd. He's not moving. He's got pretty good speed. No one was trying to get it to Brownlee. No one open. Got a 3rd and short here.
Daniel Boyd, to me, is one of those old-timey football players. He loves the game, goes out there and hits and plays hard every down.
You'd like to have about 11 of him out there.
Right.
What a good player, right out of Memphis, Tennessee.
3rd and 2. Mississippi State has it stacked up. All 11 men close to the line of scrimmage. The pitch is deep, and it's going to go for a loss. The Bulldogs hold them.
Well, that play really never had a chance. That's the pitch play that Ole Miss likes to use on a 3rd and short, usually with Tommy Luke in there when it's the threat of the wishbone and the threat of the 3-way option. With Xiao's in there, I'm not sure they really expected the option. Got the pitch to Courtney. It's just too much pursuit on the part of Mississippi State. Didn't get people on the ground. Mississippi State just really swarming on their defense.
Tony Harris made a great play on that. He forced the runner deep with a lot of pursuit coming in, so he made a good play to make that play happen.
Well, let's keep an eye on this punt and see if Mississippi State comes after Chisholm again.
Richard Chisholm gets one off a line shot that Tony James Fields bobbles and falls down on the 36-yard line.
I think that might have been an indication of the wind blowing here, Doug. That ball didn't get but about 10 feet off the ground.
Chisholm seemed rushed on that, as if he was bound to determine to get it off no matter what.
Well, that'll happen to you when you get one blocked in the end zone one week and then you fumble the snap the next.
There's Sleepy Robinson, the man who took over the reins this season for Jackie Sherrill. Not expected to be the starter way back when they first started spring practice, I guess, but he has blossomed into quite a football player. 1st and 10 from the 36. Again, that wishbone look for the Bulldogs. And stacked up right at the line of scrimmage. Good defense by Ole Miss. That's Jim Lentz, the nose guard, stacking it up.
Lentz has been injured since about mid-season. Not supposed to start today. Not 100%. Ole Miss is pretty beat up on their defense or throughout their team. Artis Ford, the defensive tackle, is not even in uniform today.
If you're a senior in this ball game, you're going to play, probably.
Absolutely. Tape it up and go.
Lentz, one of the few players not from Mississippi. Somehow he came down here from New Jersey, Flemington, New Jersey. 2nd and 11 from the 35. 8:45 and counting on the clock. The pitch back. And again, Ole Miss spreads it out, but that speed will kill. It's Kenny Roberts going around the outside, a gain of about 7.
You're right about speed. Kenny Roberts, one of really 4 running backs that has over 300 yards for Mississippi State this year. They do a good job bringing them in and out. These young players got outstanding speed. Had 156 yards against LSU last week.
Kenny Roberts in high school ran the 100-yard dash in 9.8 seconds, and as a senior in high school, he was called the fastest runner in the state.
Out of Hamilton, Mississippi. That's about what you ran, wasn't it, Steve? About 9.8?
That's pretty close.
Yeah.
I can tell that about Steve the first time I saw him.
I ran 9.80 when about 75 yards.
3rd and 4, and it's a first down and more. Bulldogs marching along, running that wishbone. Let's check in with Phil Van Horn.
Well, here on the sideline, Tommy Luke being tested. His neck is being tested. You know, in that first series, he took quite a shot. Last year, Luke was the star of this game, rushing for 136 yards. The top rusher in the game. He was 7 for 13 passing. Ole Miss seniors have never lost to Mississippi State, but right now it looks like he's out for the game. We'll try to update that before halftime.
7.5 minutes to go in the first quarter. 1st and 10 for the Bulldogs. Robinson back to pass. That play action fake. He's going to run it. Finds some open spaces. Gets close to the first down marker. We'll give him a gain of 9.
Well, most people feel that Sleepy Robinson is the best option quarterback in the SEC. Look, Steve, it looks to me like he may be reading the strength of the Ole Miss defense and checking off at the line and running the option away from that strength.
That's more or less what they're doing. They're used to the no huddle anyway, so they're used to making a lot of audibles at the line, and that's pretty much what they're doing. As a secondary man, that's the worst thing in the world that can happen to you, is let the quarterback get out and run while you're trying to play pass defense.
His knee dragged the ground, so it was only a gain of 7. 2nd down and 3. He's calling the audibles at the line of scrimmage, it appears. And the handoff right up the middle to the big fullback, Michael Davis, the freshman. Flag down. .6:42 to go here in the first quarter in Starkville, Mississippi.
That first touchdown
For
pass.
the play, movement by an offensive lineman, 5 yards. Repeat the 2nd down.
Second down, be 5, march 5 off against Mississippi State. That was the 8th touchdown pass of the year by Sleepy Robinson. He's over 1,000 yards passing on the year. And Dougie's rushed for 464 and scored 4 touchdowns there. Just a great all-around player.
Played at Wingfield High School in Jackson.
And he's just a junior.
Continuing that wishbone formation, and again they jump and they move, and that was a malfunction of something.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, the quarterback's got to get the football before you can run an offensive play. And there's a lot of people moving there, but Lee Ford didn't get it up to Sleepy Robinson, and therefore I think they're probably going to walk off 5 more against Mississippi State. I mentioned Lee Ford, the center. What an outstanding young man. His father was a high school teammate of mine, and he's from Starkville here. They moved to Starkville. Reagan Ford is one of my best friends. I had the good fortune to see him right before the game. And Lee has really done a great job. Came to Mississippi State as a walk-on after suffering a knee injury his senior year at Starkville High School. And one of those just big offensive line for Mississippi State. And they do have some big ones, don't they, Steve?
That's right. That's part of their success this year is their big offensive line.
2nd down and 13. The ball keeps moving in the opposite direction for Mississippi State, although Sleepy Robinson finds a wide open receiver for a State first down.
Pretty much the same pass that you saw for a touchdown a while ago. He just cut it short. The guy had him played deep, so he cut it off short. That's a good play action pass, good reception.
That really was an outstanding throw by Sleepy Robinson. And I like the route out there too, as Harris drives down. Now watch him drive down. Ford thinks he's going deep. He plants and comes back, and the ball's a timing route. The ball's been thrown. Well executed play and very hard to defend, especially when you've been beat for a touchdown in the first quarter.
That's right. You're going to play them a little bit deeper after something like that happens.
1st and 10. Sleepy Robinson to keep it, break a tackle, get carried out of bounds right around the 20-yard line.
Hey, Sleepy's got good size. You know, oftentimes you think about an option quarterback or a guy that runs the option so well, you think about somebody that's really small and quick. This young man is 6 foot 195, but he looks bigger than that. That's really not real good tackling right there on the part of Ole Miss. I think that's something that's been really disappointing to the Ole Miss coaches here in the latter part of the season, and especially this 4-game losing streak has been the tackling from the defense.
Steve mentioned the offensive line of Mississippi State, and the big guys really blew him off the ball that time. 1st and 10 from the 18, and the march continues. The handoff to Penny Roberts. Gains a couple.
They pretty much look like they're just taking up where they left off last week against LSU, coming out in that wishbone and just driving it up the middle.
Well, you know, Tennessee had a lot of success against Ole Miss last week. Ole Miss kind of got back in the game a little bit in the second half, but Tennessee pretty much ran at will at the first half. And you know, with Mississippi State and their success last week against LSU and watching that film, there's no doubt they were going to come out today, try to line up, and as you said, Steve, run behind that big offensive line and just try to move it down the field. And so far, they're very successful.
2nd and 5. The pitch back to Roberts. Gets brought down after gaining a couple. Mississippi State with a good combination. Speedy running backs and just the hosses in the front. When you look at the weights, you're talking 294, 299, 280, 293, and 305. And if I was a running back, I'd love to see big guys like that blocking for me.
No doubt about that. Look at the numbers in their rushing. Well, Sleepy Robinson with 597, but then Michael Davis 430, William Prince 406, Kenny Roberts 388, Carl Williamson 303. So a lot of different people coming at you with the football.
They're spreading the wealth. 3rd and 4. We're under 4.5 minutes to play. The ball sitting on the 13-yard line. Robinson back to pass. He's rolling out. And again, a wide open receiver stepping out of bounds at about the 3. That's Carl Williamson, sophomore out of Stanton, Tennessee.
You're right, Doug. He was wide open. I think Harris, the outside receiver, had gone to the back of the end zone and probably had taken 2 people. So the young man has slipped into the flat under pursuit. Robinson gets the ball to him on a good throw. His momentum just took him out of bounds before he got into the end zone.
When you can run like Mississippi State has proven they can, the pass opens up. 1st and goal from the 2.
Another audible here at the line of scrimmage.
Up and over for the touchdown. Number 21 is Tay Galloway. 13-0 State.
Ole Miss is going to be in trouble if they don't get something going on this drive, I feel like.
Well, you're right, Steve. You need some first downs. They needed one after the first drive. It's very, very tough on offense. And of course, Ole Miss's defensive line is beat up. Mississippi State's got the great big offensive line, and people have done a good job. They're playing with so much confidence, and you're exactly right. Ole Miss really has their back to the wall.
Chris Gardner, 2 for 2 on extra points. State 14, Ole Miss 0. 4:12 to go in the first quarter. Total domination by the Bulldogs early on. Here's the touchdown dive behind that huge offensive line. Galloway goes practically untouched into the promised land.
Galloway is another junior. This Mississippi State team, especially their offense, is just full of junior players. 5'8", 197, the junior one-year letterman out of Wiggins, Mississippi.
There you see it, 11 plays, 63 yards. Throw in those illegal procedure penalties. And they did a pretty good job of driving actually farther than that. A little over 5 minutes. Not a bad drive.
Well, that's what's so great about a running game is being successful. It eats up so much time off the clock. They take 5 minutes. 5 minutes that Ole Miss cannot get the football there. Rebs down 14-0 with 4:12 to go in the first quarter.
There was a good shot of Scott Field. Steve was telling me things have changed a little bit since he was here as a player.
Yeah, things changed quite a bit. They've added new top, new press box. It's nice.
I haven't been here, Doug, since 1969, and obviously it's been a big change since then, but very nice facilities. Field looks great.
1969. You won 48-22.
But it wasn't easy. We were riding a good wave at that time. It was 14-14 at the half, and we kind of jumped on them at the second time. We were on our way to the Sugar Bowl that year. Oh, what a great kick.
A boot. The wind might have helped, but nevertheless, a nice boot. Let's go down to Phil Van Horn.
Well, Doug, there are 2 essential pieces of equipment today. 1, the football. That controls the action on the field. And 2, this fence. This controls some of the action off the field. Here's the Bulldog band. On the other side of the fence is the Mississippi State student section. Now, to my left, a section of State fans, then all the Ole Miss fans over there. Maybe they could use a moat to keep them separated if this game gets close again. But until then, things are quiet right here, right now.
Rush Giles has an open receiver.
That's Vincent. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's Vincent Brownlee. Who looks like probably a double zone defense, Steve. And Vincent Brownlee ran the fade and just got out in behind him. The safety didn't come over. Boy, there's a chance for Ole Miss to get right back in this football game. We're talking about an 80-yard touchdown. Ball thrown just a hair too wide, but Brownlee gets his hands on it. He's got to make the catch. I'm not sure if he would have come down in bounds.
It was a good route for the coverage that they had on. They had the tight end open wide up the middle. Both outside guys have run fade routes, and they're wide open. The corners of Mississippi State, if we're going to play that 2 deep zone, have got to force those guys inside.
It's the draw play, bottled up by several State defenders.
Trying to get it to Ashley, I believe, on that draw play. Just nothing there. Boy, that first one really hurt Ole Miss. I mean, he's talking about down 14 to nothing when you're on the road, a partisan crowd, and to be able to quiet them just a little bit with an 80-yard play, and he can't hold on to the football, although it's thrown just a little wide.
3rd and 9 from the 21. It's almost as if they're daring them to pass, and Skiles will give it a shot. Over the middle, and it's a connection. Number 4 for the Rebs is Eddie Small with a big catch, first down.
You know, Eddie Small has had 17 receptions on the year, 281 yards. He averages 15.4 per catch. Skiles has to move around to his right. Boy, just threw that ball with one hand. Didn't even get his left hand on the ball. Barely fit it in there to Small, who's a sophomore receiver. The rest of the receiving corps for Ole Miss are all seniors. They're all junior college transfers last year.
1st and 10 from the 37. 3 minutes to go in the first quarter. The handoff right up the middle for good yardage. A gain of about 5. Ashley.
It's really going to be hard to run against State up the middle. You got Nate Williams there in the middle, and you got the 2 big linebackers right there. It's going to be hard to run up the middle.
Steve, I agree. I think Ole Miss is probably just doing it to try to keep them honest. They know they're going to have to throw the football. I think you don't know how this game's going to go, and it doesn't look good for Ole Miss. If they were to hang in this game and get back in it, that last first down may be the most important one of the game, because they really needed a first down.
2nd and 6. Skiles gets the ball away, did a good job, and finds an open receiver. There's a fumble. It's picked up by State. It's going to be a touchdown. Oh, brother, Mississippi State takes advantage. Tony Harris comes up with a loose football. And what can you say? Russ Skiles did his best, and it turned into disaster. They may bring it back, though.
Officials are bringing it back.
They're going to bring it back to the 40-yard line, it appears.
What is the college ruling this year on fumbles behind the line or in front of the line?
Well, that was in front of the line. He made the catch, fumbled the ball, so evidently he can't pick it up and run for a touchdown.
It was behind the line of scrimmage, so they bring it back to where they recovered the football, which is on the 40.
Skiles really did a good job. Once again, here comes that State rush, and there's your big man Williams, I think, coming in. Skiles very fortunate to get away from him, throws a pass out to the flat, and definitely Courtney makes the catch and then fumbles the football before being hit.
So with 2:24 remaining in the first quarter, State takes over at the 40-yard line. The pitch back and tackled almost as soon as he gets the ball is Kenny Roberts.
That's Stacy Wilson on the tackle, outstanding linebacker, a young freshman, redshirt out of Tupelo, Mississippi, 6'4", 237. Stacy Wilson, one of the highly recruited players out of Mississippi a couple years back. Tupelo's turned out a lot of great players at both these institutions.
No gain. 2nd and 10 from the 40. We're under 2 minutes now. Robinson taking his time.
Apparently Mississippi State's doing a lot of Auburn today at the line of scrimmage like we talked about before.
Robinson around the corner. Gets knocked out of bounds, lost control of the football. A gain of about 4. Good defense by Ole Miss, spreading things out. .136 on the clock. There's a good look at Robinson. You see the numbers that Archie mentioned a few moments ago. And really has proven himself, not only a good runner, as we saw on the touchdown pass, a darn good passer. 3rd and 4. And again, bottled up right at the line. Number 99 for Ole Miss, Sean O'Malley.
Probably the shortest nose guard, one of the short nose guards in college football. 5'9", 250, a sophomore, out of Alexandria, Virginia.
Just comes by untouched. Looked like it was supposed to be a trap play, and the guy couldn't get to him.
Ole Miss with several backup players, second-team players in this defensive front and linebackers because of injuries.
It's 4th and 9. Todd Jordan, one of the backup quarterbacks, lined up behind the center. Now he's back in punt formation. Will he punt or will he throw?
Another player from Tupelo, Mississippi.
Jordan Good passer. Almost blocked. That's the punt away. Fielded at the 7-yard line. Vincent Brownlee breaks the tackle, gets knocked out around the 23.
Very dangerous return man right there. He may have a chance to go pro just because of that.
What's the Pac-10 game of the week as Arizona takes on Arizona State live tonight at 9:30 Eastern on Sports South. Don't miss the excitement as the Sun Devils of Arizona State try to end a decade of frustration against their bitter intrastate rival Arizona. It's the Pac-10 game of the week, Arizona State live tonight, 9:30 on Sports South. 1st and 10, ball on the 23. Russ 𝐒𝐥 gets sacked and loses the football. Incomplete pass, no fumble. Pressuring from the outside, Keith Joseph.
Well, that's the toughest thing for a quarterback when you're running a play-action pass and you want to throw to your right. You make that fake on the off-tackle play and set up looking to your right. That guy hits you on your blind side. I always felt like I could kind of just smell those guys coming from my blind side there, Steve. I don't know. They got me a bunch, though. But, boy, that was a great rush by Joseph. Outstanding-looking football player, 6'1", 233 out of Pascagoula, Mississippi.
2nd and 10, a fortunate call for the Reds. 𝐒𝐥 with the fake, the pump fake, and he finds an open receiver. It's complete. Breaking a tackle and then getting wrestled down is Eddie Small, and there's a punch that should not have happened.
I'm really surprised I didn't get a flag right there.
That was Keough Coleman, who came in out of nowhere, delivered a left jab to one of the Rebels.
Eddie Small, a nice catch there and an outstanding route. Let's see if he takes him to the post there, then back to the corner. Pretty good coverage, just had a step. A nice throw by Russ 𝐒𝐥. Russ 𝐒𝐥 can throw the football. 6'4", 220-pound kid. Hey, I was talking to Watson Brown before the game, the coordinator from State. He says, well, when he throws that corner route, it looks like a frozen roast.
You saw that extracurricular activity there at the end of the replay. No flag thrown. Russ 𝐒𝐥 just stopped for no gain.
That's where Ole Miss is really going to have a tough time today. 𝐒𝐥, with his injury, is not going to be real good on the option play, and I think Mississippi State realizes that.
It's the end of the first quarter, 14-0 the score, and don't forget, Tuesday night at 7:30 Eastern, it's exciting live NBA action as Detroit game. They called it the Immaculate Deflection. 24-23, the Rebs in the lead. State attempts a field goal. We were speaking of the wind here. The wind there was so strong, it blew the ball back. No good. Rebels win. You remember that?
Short field goal, too. I was not in attendance that day. I saw that replay many times, but talking to so many people that were there. Of course, these were Ole Miss people. They said it was the doggonest thing they had ever seen. This was an outstanding kicker for Mississippi State. And, I mean, that's just a chip shot field goal. And it was like a boomerang. It got up in that wind and just came all the way back. It was unbelievable.
The wind not nearly that strong today, although it may play a factor before it's over. 14-0 the score. We're starting the second quarter, 2nd and 10. Ball on the 43. Russ 𝐒𝐥 is the Rebels quarterback. And he gets brought down immediately by Nate Williams, the man Steve was bragging about early in the telecast.
Well, it looked like Russ 𝐒𝐥 just took that step back to run the options. A lot of colleges do, and I believe your man Williams came through there, got him before he ever got a chance for the option to develop.
Nate's got a lot of quickness there. He just stepped around the center. The center tried to get in his way and let him trip over him, and Nate ran around him and made a play on the quarterback.
So it's 3rd and 13.
Ole Miss really needs to pick up this first down. It's the only decent field position they've had today, and it looks like Russ 𝐒𝐥 is checking off here. Probably going to try to go deep on this right side.
Threw it out of bounds. Good coverage, though. He attempted the pass to number 4, Eddie Small, who's been his main man today, but good coverage on the outside by State.
Edward Williams, 5'10", 190 cornerback on the coverage. It was excellent coverage. Once again, though, that ball was thrown a little too far and wide to the outside, and Ole Miss will have to punt it away. We've got a different punter in. This is Brad Gray. Junior out of Olive Branch, Mississippi.
Richard Chisholm had some trouble his first 2 attempts, so Billy Brewer has...
Gray has punted, I think, 18 times this year. I guess he's used primarily for the shorter kicks.
You see State putting a lot of pressure on the outside.
Short punt. We got a flag, though, back here. I don't know if there's a roughing or not. State was coming with a block.
Gray was hopping around as if he had something good to talk about, so maybe it was roughing. He's waiting around listening to the officials. Here you see number 15. Looks like that's what it's going to be. Let's listen.
Personal foul, roughing the kicker, 15 yards, automatic first down.
Well, I'm sure Ole Miss is looking for a break here. Gray punts away. Oh, it looks like they're trying to block the punt. State rusher there, I didn't get the number. Like maybe number 30, Tony Harris, tried to dive over a blocker and then came down on the punter. That's a hard call to make sometimes.
It
He
is.
really didn't rough him. He just, his momentum after coming over that blocker threw him right into the punter, but Ole Miss gets the call.
What if the guy was blocked into him?
So it's 1st and 10, ball on the 31. Big break for Ole Miss. Their drive stays alive. Skiles goes for it all, and again, just like his last pass, throws a little too far out of bounds, but that was a good idea considering the coverage.
Yeah, the coverage was pretty good. It was really a good read by Russ Skiles. Looked like they rolled zone over to the strong side, so he came to the backside where he thought he had single coverage, but the safety reacted pretty good, trying to get that corner route in there to Derek Owens, another fine senior receiver out of Tallahassee, Florida.
Russ Skiles, 7 of 10 for 48 yards.
This is where it's tough now when you're incomplete on first down and 2nd and 10, and State has that great pass rush. Here comes the blitz.
Skiles gets buried at the 43-yard line.
He never had a chance right there. The blitz was coming. They just had more people coming in, and Ole Miss had blocking. Skiles had to peel it and eat it.
Keogh Coleman. Along with Kevin Henry, there's Keogh, the second leading tackler on the team, and they blitz a lot. Characteristic of a Sherrill defense, the blitz.
To come through untouched. Nobody was in the backfield to pick him up. Easy play.
Well, if you're not going to keep those backs in, you got to throw to them quick. Now, this was always a pretty tough call for me to make about 3rd and 25. I always look for the coach to send one in here, and he's always going after Gatorade.
Skiles over the middle.
No.
Intercepted. Nope, it's dropped. Kelvin Knight couldn't hang on.
Well, sometimes you say an interception is good as a punt, but Russ Skiles really doesn't need to throw that ball right there. He was given a lot of time. The rush was finally coming in, though, and he just threw that one up for grabs. I guess fortunately for him, the Mississippi State defensive back dropped it.
Archie, I couldn't tell that time if he's trying to hit the tight end or the guy behind him.
Ball gets away from Russ occasionally, throws high. That's a free safety just coming over who just playing in the middle, and right there should have made that interception, Kelvin Knight. He won't forget that one right out of Natchez, Mississippi.
Gray with his second punt. This time no pressure. James Fields at the 12. Breaks a couple of tackles going the wrong way. Gets dropped at about the 5-yard line. Is that a flag out in the middle of the field, or is that just to, can't tell? Something yellow. Something yellow's out there. It's a flag.
Tony James, who averages about 11.5 yards per punt return, that's going to hurt his average a little bit there, Joe. He was trying to get back the other way. Pretty good coverage on the part of the Rebels.
Had a clip on the run back. Penalties enforced from the end of the run. After this, the goal, first down.
9 times out of 10, when a punt returner runs backward, he's going to get trapped back there, especially down deep.
Here's what's happened so far. The storyline of the game, Mississippi State 3 possessions. They've cashed in twice. Total yards 107-100. Pretty close in that department. Tom Luke knocked out of the game with the very first possession for Ole Miss. Still trying to shake the cobwebs away. Handoff straight up the middle. Tom Luke is in the locker room, by the way.
Like that was Tad Galloway, the fullback, just straight ahead. Got a little breathing room for Sleepy Robinson. This is where having that big offensive line really helps when you're in the hole right there. You want to line up and just blow them off. That's a real good game. When you're backed up inside your 5 and you get 5 on first down, you're ahead of the game.
Galloway scored the touchdown. nice pickup there. Ball now on the 7-yard line. Second down. Again, straight up the middle. And close to a first down, he might have gotten it.
Always gives an offense a lot of confidence when you're in your hole and in the hole and can come out and get that initial first down. As I said before, you get that breathing room, but also that's the toughest place to run the football, either when you're backed up or when you're down inside the other team's 5.
Kind of deflates the defense when you've got them backed up and you can't stop them for anything, and they drive the length of the field. That hurts you bad.
The sticks are out.
It's like a first down.
By half the football, it's a first down for the Bulldogs.
It really deflates the defense also, Steve, when that offense is not getting many first downs for you and you're on the field the entire first quarter. That hurts.
Good shot of those big guys up front for the Bulldogs, averaging close to 295 pounds.
Sleepy Robinson 3 for 3 on the day for 54 yards passing.
There's Sleepy with the pitch. There's Mr. James finding an open space, a gain of about 14 or 15. First down, Tony James.
Ole Miss did not play the option very well right there. Allowed Sleepy Robinson to make the pitch and no one out there. And I tell you, another more bad news for Ole Miss, a strong safety, Johnny Dixon just limped off the field.
The corner on that play, he tried to make Sleepy run the ball up inside, and Sleepy suckered him in. He pitched it outside and got around the corner.
Billy Brewer with a headset sign, trying to figure out how to stop this running attack. Coming at him in every direction with all sorts of different runners. That time, Kenny Roberts. They do have a lot of runners. They're all young. The line is young for State. Future looks pretty bright.
Talking with Jackie yesterday, he was not only wanting to bring this team on as a young team, but bring them into SEC contenders in the next couple of years. He thinks he can win the SEC championship with this group of kids.
The Bulldogs 3-3 in the conference this season as the handoff goes to Galloway. Ole Miss 1-5. But you look at a couple of games. Alabama, they had Alabama on the ropes. Illegal procedure call on the 1-yard line, hurts them. They very well could have a better record than they have. There's the scores of the day. Tennessee over Kentucky. Cats playing them tough. They played the Gators tough last week. Clemson over South Carolina. The Gamecocks will be new members of the Southeastern Conference next season. Indiana killing Purdue. That hurts Ole Miss chances. Of course,
Ole Miss got all the
they're hurting themselves.
Right
yes.
here.
Sleepy Robinson almost looked like a busted play. Turns it into first down.
Looks like Ole Miss was able to force Sleepy a little deeper than he wanted to be on that option play, but he still found a nice little crease there and got positive yardage, and looks like another Mississippi State first down.
That was the formula going into the game. If somehow Purdue lost, there's Dixon, the injury in the sideline.
That's a big loss to Ole Miss, excuse me, Doug. But Dixon, an outstanding, strong safety supporting the run and on pass defense. Looks like they're going for a long one here.
Wide open.
Robinson, Tony James knocked out of bounds at the 30. That's been the case most of the day. When he passes, the receivers are wide open.
Well, I tell you, Mississippi State's doing such a great job on offense. They've got Ole Miss so aware of the option and the running game and trying to stop that now Mississippi State, when they get ready, they run the good play action pass. They're getting protection from Sleepy Robinson, and they got people running wide open down the field. There was some good pressure on Robinson there, but he did a good job of getting the ball off before it hit, and Tony James was wide open.
There looks like there had to be some kind of confusion in the Ole Miss secondary then.
Yeah, that play action pass on the option is a great play.
8th play of this drive, 1st and 10. And remember, it started way back on the 2-yard line for Mississippi State. Hand off to Galloway, right up the middle. Goes for 8 or 9. This is impressive football. Nothing fancy, just right down the gut.
Well, this is what a coach likes in his team, when you can mix up your offense and pass when you want to. Ole Miss is having to pass on 3rd and 12, and while I go 3rd and 25, Mississippi State is passing about every 4th time on 1st and 10. They're doing an excellent job of it. It's always impressive when you start in the hole and just go at will down the field.
Second down from the 24. They need 3 for the first. There's the draw to Kenny Roberts, and he gets close. See where they spot the football. They're going to measure.
Gary Abide in on the tackle. Ole Miss's leading tackler. Some concern whether or not he would be able to play. Hurt his neck last week against Tennessee.
That's about as close as you can get, and it's not quite there. Third down and maybe an inch.
If you're a gambler, this could almost be a play-action pass situation. You got just an inch to pick up on fourth down. You feel like you can come back and get it.
Well, it really would be a great call right here. Of course, they're running the ball so well.
Willie Harris is wide to the left, and Sleepy takes the conservative route. Grabs the first down. Down to 8 minutes to play before halftime. The quarter's going by quickly thanks to this drive.
Saw some friends here earlier from the Liberty Bowl in Memphis. I guess they've got to be a little excited because they already extended that invitation to Mississippi State. Mississippi State off to an excellent start today against the Ole Miss Rebels.
First and 10, the ball on the 20. Willie Harris wide left, the wishbone look. There's that handoff right up the middle. Is that Galloway again? He's been a workhorse this drive.
Well, he's not a big kid. Really quick, though, just right up the middle on that option play. Of course, Ole Miss very concerned about Sleepy Robinson on the option, and the pitch man, the great speed of Roberts, and they just slipped that ball to Galloway.
Thank goodness for the sun. It has broken out of the clouds, and the temperature hopefully will be staying put. It was plummeting, but hopefully it'll stay nestled right around the 47-degree mark, and we can survive the rest of this game. We're in the shade up here in the press box. Actually outside the press box. Running outside is Sleepy Robinson. Gets brought down after a gain of a couple. Let's check in with Phil Van Horn.
Well, in the pregame show, perhaps we did not point out the injury factor for Ole Miss enough, and already they've been hit. Johnny Dixon has trouble with his left knee. We saw him working on the sideline. He's going to try to get back in there. Also, Tommy Luke is off the sideline and in the locker room. We'll try to have more for you in the second half.
6:43 to play. In the second quarter, there you see the score. Mississippi State working on their third touchdown. This drive started on the 2-yard line. Robinson. Intercepted. Bad pass. The Rebels bring it out to the 33-yard line. Jeff Carter makes a nice play and an even nicer run back.
That was a nice play on the ball. Sleepy just threw that one up for grabs, looked like. And Carter come in and made a good interception. Good run back, like you say.
I'm not sure Sleepy saw Jeff Carter back there and thought he was just going to be able to float one up in there. He got around Philip Kent on the play action, the roll out to the left. Just tried to toss it over Abide and never saw Jeff Carter. If Jeff had a little more speed, could have broken the tackle. He might have gotten some points out of that, Steve.
Looked like somebody I used to know.
I probably threw you a couple during the years, didn't I?
First and 10, Russ Shaz with a handoff and a gain of 6 or 7.
If Ole Miss can put together a drive here right before half, it'd be a big lift for them.
No doubt about that. They need some momentum in the worst way. That's something right there, just stopping State, because if the State had gone on in on that score and gone 98 yards, that would have really been hard to get something back. Ole Miss does have an excellent opportunity here.
Second down and 3. Ball on the 40. Rebels with their back to the wall, looking at a 21-0 deficit. Now they're on the drive. A chance to cut it to 14-7 if they can put something together. They get a first down.
Well, Tyrone Ashley almost broke a long one right there. Just got tripped up, kind of that misdirection play. I think Mississippi State's kind of got zeroed in on the passing game of Ole Miss now and maybe thinking rush. Ole Miss has come with a couple of pretty good running plays.
Actually protects that football, doesn't he?
There's a counter play right there where you pull the offside guard and tackle. You see the pros use this play so much these days. Good football play.
1st and 10 from the 46. Rush Xiao. Back to pass. Play action fake. Intercepted. At the 7-yard line. That's number 30.
Well, he's having an outstanding day with the Harris in
Tony
the secondary. There's a case I was just about to say. I still think Ole Miss is going to have to hit something deep to get back in this game. Now they're going for it on the post pattern to Vincent Brownlee, but Rush Shows and Brownlee just not on the same page right there on the post pattern. I think Shows threw it to the inside. Brownlee took an outside on the back on the defensive back, and he's right there to make the interception. Not a good looking play.
Perfect pass to Tony Harris.
Yeah, hit him right between the 3 and the 0.
It looks like to me, guys, that Shows is going back with one thought in mind, and that's he's going there regardless.
Yeah, I think sometimes you do that, Steve, when you got an injury. You know, you just when you're not 100%, especially on the Yankee, you know, you just sometimes it's a wish sometimes. Boy, here comes a nice looking little reverse play.
Roberts breaks free to the outside to the 18. Close to a 1st down.
Pushed out of bounds by Godwin.
Kenny Roberts is the young man who broke free on that long run of 50-some-odd yards against Auburn that sealed the win over Auburn in Auburn. That really got the Bulldogs going, I think, that victory, and of course they're going right now.
Well, this is a good play right here. All the movement goes to the right to 2 backs, and then you just slip it to Roberts with that great speed that he has, 5'8", 171 pounds, coming back to the left side. Actually, Ole Miss is very fortunate that they didn't get more yards there.
They will measure Kenny Roberts, the leading rusher for the Bulldogs, back 1989-90 when he was just a freshman, now a junior. Hamilton High School.
He had a good game against Ole Miss last year.
Just short. About half a yard, and Phil Van Horn, what do you have?
Well, Doug, today's game, it would be difficult to picture it having more meaning than it would to Tony Harris, number 30 for Mississippi State. He's already recovered a couple of turnovers. He originally attended Mississippi, played there his freshman year, but then his ACT test scores were contested. His scholarship was revoked, played junior college ball, then was recruited by Mississippi State. So he's seen this rivalry from both sides of the field. Doug?
Well, I'd have to say it's Ole Miss's loss. Of course, Tony Harris played for Bobby Franklin over there at Northwest Junior College. Senatovia's turned out so many outstanding players and supplied some colleges throughout the country. Matter of fact, Steve, I saw a number of junior college players here today on a recruiting visit.
Yeah, they've got a good program over at Sanford. We have some boys that live in Oxford that are playing over there right now. They're doing a good job.
Pete Jenkins, the line coach of Mississippi State, indicated to me they'll probably sign a couple of junior college kids this year.
Hand up the middle, and the Rebels bottle them up.
I really don't see anything wrong with signing kids out of junior colleges and bringing them in, that people that could contribute right now.
You know, the only problem is if you sign a lot of them, you got to turn around and just keep signing them because they leave so fast. And I talk about the 3 receivers that are leaving this year. You know, Owens, Brownlee, and Montgomery for Ole Miss. They just came last year, but 2 years and their time's up. Now all 3 of these guys got a good chance to be in the pros next year, but Ole Miss has got to go out and find some new receivers.
JUCO players are a quick fix, indeed. Over the top. We're down to 4 minutes to play before halftime. 4 minutes. It's 14-0 State. 3rd down. Coming up on Sports South, NBA action. The Detroit Pistons visit the Atlanta Hawks. The revamped Hawks featuring first-round draft choice Stacey Augmon battle Isaiah Thomas and the Pistons. It's live NBA action Tuesday night, 7:30. Sports South.
I think this is really a big 3rd down play in this football game today. Mississippi State's dominated this first half. If Ole Miss can force them to punt the ball away here and make something happen on offense, they could go into halftime with a little momentum. Here comes reverse.
They did it against LSU, and it worked. This time it does not work. A nice play by Lance Whiteside of the Rebels.
Whiteside stayed at home. That's his job to do. He's pick up that reverse coming back. He stayed at home, made a good play.
Ole Miss is had a minimum amount of big plays today in the game. Now Mississippi State trying to get a big play on the reverse. The Whiteside makes it, as Steve said, staying at home and forcing State to punt it away. Ole Miss should come away from this with some good field position.
Mike Riley in to punt. 39.7 average this season. He's punting into the wind. Short punt. And it's touchdown right around the 45-yard line. So with 2:39 to go, the Reds have good field position.
Couldn't ask for more. Just got to get a little balance here. They had a couple good running plays on their last possession. If they can get a little bit of balance right here, Ole Miss in their first half possessions, 5 of them. Now they punted 3 times, had a fumble and an interception. Can't afford any more turnovers. What they need here is to move those sticks, get about 3 first downs, and get in scoring position.
You can hear the cowbells in the crowd. Rush out, back to pass. It's complete, out of bounds. He does have a strong arm. That took a pretty good arm to get it out there.
Oh, Russ got an excellent arm. I think that was Owens. He just had the ball was thrown high, and he had gotten toward the sideline. It's a play-action pass. Now the rush was coming. Rush had to step up. You know, if he was healthy, he could run that football right there for about 10 yards. Decided to try to throw it, and Owens had gotten out of bounds. Here's the tough call that Ole Miss has had throughout the day, so many times, 2nd and 10.
From the 45, 2:32 on the clock. Dow's being pressured. And that's Steve's favorite player, Daniel Boyd.
That's right, this is a good kid. I like him.
There's another junior, too, out of South Haven, Mississippi, from Memphis Prep. 6 foot 233. He was a player of the week in the SEC a few weeks back. Looks like he may have been initially on coverage. Maybe his man didn't come, then he came with the dog. Child's unable to move very well today.
A lot of times in a man situation like that, if your man picks up and you see it, you go as a linebacker, and that's exactly what he did.
Here's another one of those 3rd and 30s.
Great for the defense.
1:45 and counting.
Well, I think they ought to throw deep here. We got Mississippi State's up there showing a blitz, but now they fall out of it.
Childs with plenty of time. Finds an open man. But the pursuing Bulldog defense right there to stop the Rebels short. Mark Woodard leading the charge.
Mississippi State was up showing blitz there. It would really surprise me, and I'm sure especially Steve Freeman, for a team on 3rd and 33 to come with the blitz. But they showed it, tried to get Ole Miss to audible, and then fell out of it. Played a deep zone. Ole Miss, Russ Childs had to dump the ball off right there to a tight end, and Ole Miss will punt it away.
Childs 10 of 12 on the day.
That doesn't really tell the story, though, does it?
Not at all. 1:02 to play. Clock ticking away. Tony James deep. Gray, a nice high punt. James fields it at the 17. And just like last time, nowhere to go. You might think about fair catching one of those.
I don't think he likes the fair catch.
Either one of these guys. We really are seeing 2 good punt returners.
They've got a lot of confidence in their catching ability, so they're going to stand there and catch it and run. I like that.
Tony James needs 20 yards, return yardage, to go over 1,000 for his career, to become only the 2nd player in Southeastern Conference history to do that. So far, he hasn't gained any.
Let's see what Mississippi State does with their offense here. 48 seconds. Not really a wide open passing offense. Let's see if they try to get in position here. I just want to run out the clock. Here comes the pass.
Sleepy looking for Willie Harris. In and out of his hands.
That ball could have easily been intercepted right there.
Well, there's Jeff Carter. Johnny Dixon already out. Now Jeff Carter, the free safety, looks like he's injured. He's going to have to go out of the game. Dixon, who's injured early, is going to take his place.
Now that's been one of the problems of Ole Miss all year, is their injury factor. It's hard to keep people well, and it's hard to play good ball with all your starters over there on the bench.
Billy Brewer was asked about the 4-game losing streak, and he said, well, it's a combination of playing some better teams and, of course, injuries and some bad breaks.
37 seconds. Here's the handoff. Roberts gets brought down. First time he's been wrestled down at no gain.
But Mississippi State may be content to go in with this 14-0 lead, and they definitely have dominated this first half. But I'd have to say Ole Miss is pretty fortunate that it's just 14-0, the way Mississippi State has run the football and controlled it, and the way Ole Miss has just been so unproductive on offense. This hurts me to say all these nice things, about Mississippi State here today, guys, but they are a good football team.
But there you have it. Into the first half, 14-0, Mississippi State. But as Archie said, it could have been worse. The Rebs should feel fortunate going in down by only 2 touchdowns. We'll be back in just a moment. The score once again, Mississippi State 14, the Rebels 0.
Conference boasts 3 of the top 30 running backs in the nation. As usual, Alabama's Teran Stacy is right up there among the leaders, but his 921 yards rushing is good only for 3rd in the SEC. Versatile Eric Rhett is 2nd. The surprise, senior Corey Harris of Vanderbilt, averaging 15 yards a game more than Rhett.
The catbird seat, rushing yards, -11 for the Rebels. That is awful. As you can see, that's how Mississippi State did most of their damage.
Well, of course, that's a great pass rush. A lot of that's, of course, quarterback sacks, but Ole Miss has tried to run the ball the minimum amount of times. Passing yards, Ole Miss has tried to throw more, but less success, 56 yards. And Mississippi State's hit with some big plays on the pass. Total yardage 191 to 45, and that's indicative. 14-0 score. I guess with those stats, it could be worse. I think Ole Miss has to feel a little fortunate to be behind by just 14. And of course, what's hurt Ole Miss is 2 turnovers. Now Mississippi State's had 1, or it might have been 21-0.
Time of possession, Mississippi State over 18 minutes. The Rebs, really, it's not as lopsided as one might think.
Well, not when you consider the way Mississippi State did control the football and how well they've run the football. I think I didn't hear all of the conversation with Billy Brewer, but I got to believe Ole Miss still believes that Steve that they've got to hit a big play here along the line. Russ Shouse can throw the football. I think he's injured. You can see a couple of times he doesn't move very well, and I think when they get that rush on him, he's not 100% there, but still, LSU threw the ball on Mississippi State. You think there is some weakness in the state secondary?
Yeah, I think there is. I think, though, first, Ole Miss has got to get some kind of running game going. So -11 yards in the first half. They've got to run the ball. Where Mississippi State has got most of their passing yardage on play action.
Right.
Coming off the run. And if they can establish some kind of run and get a little play action going, I think they'll hit a big play.
Well, otherwise, they're really probably not going to be able to protect Russ Shouse well enough to throw the ball downfield. Mississippi State, the offensive line is the real story. The big people up front for Mississippi State and their ability to run the ball and then the great pass rush. But they're also doing a good job of blitzing, and those inside linebackers are very good for Mississippi State.
Watching Billy a while ago talk, he said that they weren't really prepared for all the blitzing that State's doing.
Brian Lee kicks off to Tony James, and Tony breaks it up the middle and is brought down at the 48-yard line, and he's over 1,000 yards for his career. Big return.
Well, preseason All-American as a return man. Tony James also the second leading receiver for Mississippi State. Got a nice little crease right there. Good blocking by the return team. Mississippi State with excellent field position to start this second half. Boy, there's a couple of Ole Miss people look like they were just running in place right there. It's actually a nice job by Gerald Vaughn, backup strong safety, to bring James down.
Notre State has come out of their wishbone right now and went to a one-back set.
That could probably give Ole Miss some real problems. So I'm sure at the halftime, all they concentrated on was the wishbone. Stop it.
Well, that play went absolutely nowhere. There's Russ Shouse on the sidelines. Brian Harper was on the tackle.
Well, we got some bad info early on those statistics on Russ Shouse.
Yeah, we did.
I didn't think he was 10 for 12. Boy, there's another Ole Miss player down. I think it may be a good thing this is the last game. Doug, Steve, a lot of people hurt. This is Gary Abide, unfortunately, who came into today's game hurt. A tough young man out of Greenville, St. Joe. Let's hope that's not a reoccurrence of that neck injury.
14:35 to play now in the third quarter. We've just started. It's 14-0, and here's a look at what might have happened to Abide.
Well, they had 3 receivers set, 1 man in motion, and Sleepy Robinson fakes the punt. Looks like Abide is pulled down by a blocker right there. They've hit that shoulder on the ground.
It looked like Kenny Roberts Nice crackback block. Didn't really see it coming. It was legal, but boy, those hurt. Sleepy Robinson the pass. Willie Harris, his favorite target, complete. First down, Bulldogs.
Oh, what a nice job of staying in bounds by Willie Harris over there. Tough play to defend. Once again, Steve and I were just talking about that. You know, when you run that wishbone offense, I presume the defense really wants to put 10 people up there to try to stop it and put man-to-man coverage with your one wide receiver. Willie Harris shakes loose, keeps 1 foot in. Nice throw, nice catch.
1st and 10 from the 32.
Archie, they're playing a zone defense right there, and he just...
Right up the middle. Brought down about the 7-yard line, William Prince. The first time we've called his name this afternoon.
He's got some fresh legs right there. William Prince, their 3rd leading rusher on the year with 406 yards. Haven't seen him all afternoon. I was going to ask earlier where he was. I thought maybe he'd gotten injured and no one had informed me. He didn't look injured there.
He's a junior from Vicksburg, Mississippi. Went to Warren Central High School.
He's a highly recruited running back out of Warren Central a few years back.
And State just keeps putting in these running backs. 6 or 7 of them over there have been playing a lot, all gaining big yardage. There's Robinson. And a very, very good play by Danny Boyd.
Danny Boyd, a cornerback. Of course, this is it down in the red zone inside the 5-yard line. Everybody playing tight. Looks like Boyd just knifes through and gets Robinson in the backfield for a loss.
He makes a good play there on the quarterback. He had quarterback that time. 54 had pitch man. Boyd comes in and makes a good play.
And here's a 3-receiver set over to the left side. 1 back in the backfield.
2nd down, 7 to go. Tony James, Willie Harris, wide left. That's Roberts in motion. Sleepy gets inside the 5, right around the 4-yard line.
Well, that's a 3-receiver set, but really what it is, it's just a slot to the left, and Roberts, who's in there in the slot there, starts in motion, gets in the backfield, and then comes back to the left side for the pitch man on the option. Sleepy decides to keep it. Gets a couple of those yards back. We're getting a picture of Gary Abide on the sideline. I've got to believe, Steve, he probably re-injured that neck right there.
That's what it looks like right there.
You know, I don't know how linebackers go through 10 and 11 games a year. As much as they hit and practice and games. Tough young men. Here's a bootleg play.
He can run it in if he wants to.
Touchdown, State.
Yeah, we mentioned earlier about the size and also the speed of Sleepy Robinson. Bootleg play, good speed coming to the corner, puts the Ole Miss guy in a real tough situation. Chauncey Godwin, whether to stay back with the receiver or come up. Sleepy gets it in the end zone and really puts Mississippi State in control of this football game.
Well, Tony James set that drive up. What a weapon. The kickoff, returning it past the 50-yard line into Ole Miss territory, and from there, fairly easy drive. 3 for 3. Chris Gardner. It's 21-0. There's the engineer of that drive, Sleepy Robinson. They abandoned the wishbone look, and Sleepy Robinson took charge.
On his play-action passes today, Sleepy's really had no one around him. That time got around the corner. Really had a pretty easy trip into the end zone.
Sleepy, like you said before, Archie, a big kid, really, 6 feet, 195 pounds. That's big for an option quarterback, and look at him stick his head down and just bowl his way into the end zone.
Well, earlier today, threw his 8th touchdown pass of the year. I believe that's his 5th touchdown rushing this year. He's definitely been the most valuable player of this game. 6 plays, 48 yards, and used just 2:29 off the clock. Probably took away what momentum Ole Miss may have had coming out the second half.
Well, the Bulldogs haven't won too many in this Egg Bowl rivalry, looking back through the years, but it looks like they're headed in that direction today. Up 3 touchdowns, 12:31 to go in the 3rd quarter.
It may very well be their time. Billy Brewer's had a lot of success against Mississippi State. We mentioned earlier as a player. And of course, he's won 7 out of 8 times since becoming the head coach at Ole Miss.
Gardner will kick off, and doing a little research here, Archie, you were what, 2-1 in games that you played against the Dogs. Steve, 1-2, one your senior year, right?
Actually, I guess I was 1-1 in games I played in, and in my senior year I had a broken arm, but Mississippi State beat us that day. Joe Reed was the quarterback, so the 3 years I was there, we were really 1-1-1.
There's Ashley breaking tackles, breaking it up the middle. Nice return up to the 47-yard line.
Oh, what a nice return by Tyrone Ashley, and without a lot of help. It looked though they would have him back around the 15-yard line, just continued to find creases right there, broke a couple of tackles, and got Ole Miss some good field position.
Russ Shows back at quarterback. Tyrone Ashley. Watch the moves and the strength. This guy has some power. Breaking a tackle. Running over his own player. Shout. Complete and out of bounds.
Just a quick out there to Vincent Brownlee. 3-step drop by Russ Shows.
Takes a good arm to throw that pattern, Archie. I know you know that, but if he makes one little bobble, that cornerback can pick it up and be gone.
Yeah, and then you got to try to make a tackle. Yep, that wasn't very good at those. Russ is a good-looking quarterback, 6'4", 220. Really had a tough first half. It was extremely tough playing on the injured ankle. It kept him out for the last 3 weeks. Of course, with that big Mississippi State rush coming at him, makes it doubly tough. There's Dew Innocent on the pitch. Good yardage and very close to a first down.
First time Dew Innocent has handled the ball today.
Ole Miss is very excited about this young man, a true freshman running back out of Pompano Beach, Florida. He's carried the ball 63 times on the year for 315 yards. Not bad numbers for a running back, and really playing in the third position, the third running back for the team. He's going to play a lot of football for Ole Miss.
The Rebels have several players from the state of Florida on their team. Of course, that's to stay rich in talent.
Tyrone Ashley came out of Florida 4 years ago. Been an outstanding player for the Rebels.
Giles rolls right and has an open man. The drive continues. That was Derek Owen.
That's a big league throw right there. Russ Shows sprinting out to his right. Now, we mentioned earlier it's that left ankle, so I don't think we'll see him sprinting to his left today. He sprinted to the right. Derek Owens down. Just breaks it to the sideline. Now, he's got an inside receiver on that slot hooking up. That keeps the defense honest, but that's a real good throw by Russ Shows on the run. A hard ball to throw.
First and 10 from the 29. Shows doing a fine job now. And he's getting time to throw. Time a little bit behind his receiver. Looking for Armstrong. Ty.G. Armstrong. First time they've gone his way.
Ty.G. has 16 receptions on the year and a good average catch for a tight end. You're right, that ball thrown somewhat behind him. I think Dew Innocent was open on the swing pattern, and Ole Miss may come back to that.
There's the pass. I think our stats man in the first half was a Russ Shows fan, giving us those numbers. He's 6 out of 14, and that's right, 76 yards.
Well, I'm a Russ Shows fan. I think he's a good-looking quarterback, and he's really playing under some adverse conditions today, but hanging tough. Here comes that blitz.
And he has an open receiver. Couldn't come up with it. That would have had to be a perfect pass to connect. Looking for Eddie Small.
Well, it looked as though that Russ Shows was throwing it on the outside shoulder of Eddie Small, and Eddie Small was thinking deep pass, throwing it on the inside. He tried to make the adjustment, but it went out of bounds. Shows, the true numbers today is 6 for 15 right there. We'll get it straight.
Russ Shows, his dad Hank played for Johnny Vaughn at Ole Miss back 66, 67, 68.
Well, Hank Shows was my tight end my sophomore year, and I mean, one tough guy. What a good football. But remember, Ole Miss might be in 4-down territory right here. They could go with a run right here and might catch Mississippi State off guard. Let's see if they might come see with a trap or a draw play.
3rd and 10, timeout Rebels.
You get in split backs, that is a draw formation.
Like Red Parker gets word out to Russ Shows to call timeout. I don't know if the clock was running down. Billy Brewer seems a little upset over on the side.
Let's check in with Phil Van Horn.
Well, Doug, the Ole Miss defense depends so heavily on those two linebackers, Abide and Harris. And here we can see number 52, Gary Abide. The left knee, it's not his neck, it's his left knee. You can see it's heavily wrapped, a lot of ice on it. It's a bruise on his left knee. He still could come back in this game. He's going to let the ice sit on it for a while, see how it feels. But he may be back in this game for Ole Miss.
Phil told us at halftime that Tom Luke has been taken to the hospital for a possible concussion. Ole Miss getting beat up in this game.
I talked to Langston Rogers, one of their sports information people, and he said they took him over there to run a CAT scan just for everything to be all right.
Well, Tommy Luke was a big part of the win in Jackson last year when Ole Miss defeated Mississippi State 21-9. He really broke the game open in the second half as State was playing outstanding defense with an option play where he turned it down the sideline and then scored the last touchdown. Tommy turned it upfield and really got nailed by a couple of Bulldog linebackers early in the game. We certainly hope he'll be all right. Here's a big third down play. Let's see if Ole Miss tries to catch him off guard and then go for it on fourth down.
Show's batted up and down. 4th and 10.
You notice, Archie, that they kept those two backs in momentarily to see if they could pick that blitz up, and then they released them out.
Well, Mississippi State, of course, up faking the blitz, so the backs hang tight to pick up those linebackers. When the backers back up, then the running backs release out of the backfield. It might have been your man Williams again that batted that ball away. It's like Brownlee may have gotten open on the corner route, but Rush wasn't looking this direction.
Brian Lee attempts the field goal and connects. It's good. The Rebels are on the scoreboard, 21-3. 44-yard field goal for Brian Lee, who's now 13 of 19 in that department this season.
Brian's had a good year. He suffered through a real tough year last year as a kicker for Ole Miss. Came back, kicked 5 field goals opening day down in New Orleans against Tulane. Had a much better year for the Rebels.
So maybe that will be some incentive for Ole Miss as they get off the snide and put some points on the board. Wednesday night, 8:30, live college basketball excitement on Sports South. It's the Tar Heels of North Carolina, the winningest team in the 80s, against the Run and Gun Cougars of Houston. It's live NCAA basketball. The Heels against the Cougars Thursday night, 8:30 on Sports South. That'll be a good game. Let's see if Ole Miss can make this a game. 11:20 to play in the third quarter. They're on the board, so they're headed in the right direction.
Well, any chance Ole Miss has to get back in, it's really going to depend on the defense now. They've got to stop the running game of Mississippi State and try to get a couple more turnovers. Mississippi State's very good at running the football, controlling the football, and can't say enough about Sleepy Robinson, the job he's done not only today, but throughout this 91 season for the Mississippi State Bulldogs.
It's an old cliche that the game is won in the trenches, but really looking at it today, the way Mississippi State's dominating it on the line of scrimmage on offense, and then defensively, they're squashing things. They're winning the battle there.
I think that's what a lot of people expected coming into today's game.
Tony James, no chance to return that one. A good kick. Bulldogs will take over on the 20-yard line. And we'll see those big old guys from Mississippi State, the offensive line, come barreling out and lead another drive. And they are big. Of course, State's always had that reputation of big linemen. Maybe not the swiftest of foot, but these guys look like they can move pretty well. There's the scoring drive, 7 plays, 25 yards. Took just over a minute. All because of the nice run back by Ashley.
We've thrown offense from Mississippi State. Misdirection play coming out to the left side. I think that's Williamson.
Williamson goes left for a couple. Carl Williamson out of Stanton, Tennessee.
Yeah, Mississippi State just continues to bring these running backs in there. Here's a guy that's carried just 66 times on the year, but has also gained 303 yards, 1 touchdown.
Second down and 7 from the 23. We're under 11 minutes, closing in on the 10.5-minute mark. Got knocked to sleep on that one. Good hit.
Sure was. What happened right there? That play didn't develop. There's the young linebacker once again out of Tupelo. Ole Miss coach is excited about his play and prospects for the future. Stacy Wilson. Like Wilson went just right through the running back. Didn't take the fake to the handoff and really put the leather of Sleepy Robinson.
Sleepy calls a lot of audibles at the line almost every time. Not much movement. It just seems a lot of people are listening.
Play action pass again.
Got the corner out.
Wide open. It's a connection. Knocked out of bounds around the 33-yard line. That was number 12, Frank Sullivan. Now check that, Chris Furley.
Chris Furley had run that corner route. Once again, that's a wide receiver. They fake the option off the wishbone. Sleepy drops back, throws the corner route. Sleepy had a lot of time back there, although he was hit hard just as he released the ball. Another perfect pass.
Lulled him to sleep with a run, and the pass was wide open.
Looks like Philip Kent got a good lick on him, but look there, there's not anybody within 10 yards of Furley.
Good hit on Sleepy Robinson right here. Good way to get a quarterback hurt pretty quick.
That's Philip Kent, fine outside linebacker. He's it's a fumble.
Fumble. It looks like Ole Miss has recovered once again. They've come up with a big play.
Ole Miss needed that. If they can punch in a score here, the ball game is up for grabs right now.
Well, you're right, Steve. They really do need some offense here and need to come up with some big plays. It's just a deep handoff, something we hadn't seen out of state. I'm not sure he ever really got control of that football on the deep handoff. He didn't. That's Williamson. Sleepy just got it to him deep. He really never got it in that breadbasket there. Coughed it up, and here comes Russ Shows and Ole Miss.
Brian Harper with a nice play for the Reds. 9:44 to go. Russ Shows. And loses the football himself. It's recovered by Ole Miss. Wesley Melton pounces on it.
Well, that had to be a play Ole Miss has worked on, trying to hit a home run right there where Russ Shows fakes the option, fakes the quick screen out to the left, and I think he wanted to hit 𝐭𝐥𝐿 Armstrong, the tight end down the middle. See him fake to his left. The problem is he didn't get very deep. He's just about 2 yards from the line of scrimmage. Defensive end comes in, bats the ball away. Ole Miss fortunately recovers. I think that was Herman Carroll who came in and knocked it away.
9 minutes to go.
Cowbells are getting a little loud here.
2nd and 20. Shows on the option.
That's Marvin Courtney there. We haven't seen a lot of him today. He's been a very productive player for Ole Miss this year. He's rushed for 451 yards and I think scored something like 11 touchdowns.
32-yard line.
They've been all over Russ Shows this afternoon, and of course Tom Luke was on that first possession.
Yeah, that's after they knocked out one quarterback, 3 sacks, 4 hurries, 2 knockdowns, interception, pass block. I tell you, I feel this young man.
Russ Shows, pump fake, but he's sacked. Chalk up another sack for the state sack exchange.
Just about all State has to do now is just put your ears back and come on.
Exactly right. When they get up by 18 points, and Ole Miss, of course, feels like their best success is going to come from throwing the ball anyway. They feel like there's some weakness in the secondary, but if you can't find time to get the ball downfield, you're going to face those 4th and 30s or whatever it is, 4th and 20.
Wesley Leasley from Greenville, Mississippi on the sack.
Boy, Russ, that ball was coughed up again. Russ was very fortunate to repair. Here comes the block.
James Fields at the 43 and gets the fair catch.
I don't know how he got that off. I thought they blocked it.
7:32 to play in the 3rd quarter.
State, we mentioned earlier in the show, State was coming with the rough today. Good little acting job there by Mr. Gray. Sleepy Robinson will bring his team, Mississippi State offense out of the huddle again with excellent field position. Steve, that's what's so demoralizing for a defense is you create a turnover and then the offense doesn't get anything out of it.
I know it. That's tough on defense. Big play right here.
High stepping it, tight roping it. Kenny Roberts down the sideline. First down, State.
Especially if you've been on the field all day and you get a turnover and you need a little bit of blow.
Yeah, need a little Gatorade and oxygen over there, and they don't give you long parts. Well, it's a case of just pure speed right there. Ole Miss still missing some tackles in that secondary.
Still holds the high school record for the 100-yard dash, 200-yard dash in the state of Mississippi.
I bet he was a tough running back at Hamilton, Mississippi.
There's Mr. Galloway again. Scored the touchdown in the first half and really was the workhorse in the first half.
Galloway runs a lot bigger than he is, doesn't he?
Derek King, number 66, in make the tackle out of Pontotoc, Mississippi. King taking the place of Gary Abide, who injured his knee earlier.
We're under 7 minutes to play in the third period, and Mississippi State continues to rack up the yardage on the ground. Now 166 rushing yards, negative 17 for the Rebels. That goes nowhere. First time in a while they've bottled it up. No gain. Roberts runs into a stone wall.
But that pitch play hadn't been quite as successful for Mississippi State as the option play.
Disappointed Ole Miss players. Down 21-3. For the seniors, their last shot at their arch rivals. Third down and 5. Sleepy.
Good pitch right there.
Tony James, first down, Bulldog.
Well, you could put that in your clinic right there on your highlight film, how to run the option. Ole Miss had that option defense. It looked perfect. They had one man on the quarterback, one man on the pitch guy. Somehow Sleepy made them both commit to him, made the pitch, and got good positive yardage.
Looking ahead to next season, they still have one game to play this season, but with all these juniors, sophomores for Mississippi State, they're going to be a team to really beat next season.
They got to feel good about the future.
Look at the rushing stats here that just came up on the board.
Oh, it's Galloway again. Jason.
Let's see. Mississippi State will be playing Air Force in the Liberty Bowl, but that's a running team. That game might not last but about an hour and 15 minutes or so.
Derek King on the stop. Well, looks like she might have a Bulldog on the left cheek and a Rebel on the right. No, that must be a Bulldog. It's hard to tell. Jackie Sherrill, his first game in this rivalry. Billy Brewer's had so much success. Never lost as a player. 7-1 as head coach.
Billy Brewer was a high school coach right over here in Columbus, Mississippi when I was at Ole Miss.
Down to the 15-yard line.
You give a good option quarterback that little crease in there, he's going to take it and gain 5 on you every time.
Washington State leads Washington early. Michigan destroys Ohio State. John Cooper, by the way, the head coach for Ohio State, his contract was extended today. Tennessee beats Kentucky. Clemson over South Carolina. The Gamecocks in the SEC next season.
Oh,
Purdue coming back.
It up there. East Carolina wins.
The old Oaken Bucket game.
An outstanding season. East Carolina's here.
Galloway stuffed.
Good defensive play by Ole Miss there. Lose a couple of yards there for Galloway. Probably force Mississippi State into a field goal situation.
Jack Muirhead was right there for the tackle. Chris.
Ole Miss had some kind of stunt coming up the middle that time and just stacked them up. Nowhere to go.
State ran right into it.
Chris Gardner already has 3 extra points. 8 of 13 on field goals this season. Make it 9 of 14. Chris Gardner from Brandon, Mississippi. 24-3 the score, 3:39 on the clock. And the cowbells are clanging again. Happy times in Starkville. First time in 20 years they've played the game here. And they're making the most of it. Sellout crowd.
I think the last time the game was here was, as you said, 1971. Ole Miss was fortunate to win 48-0. that year. And then in 1972, the last time they didn't. Ole Miss won in Oxford that day in 72, 51-14. And the game was in Jackson for 18 years.
When it's played in Jackson, they split the tickets 50-50. That holds, what, about 65,000?
Right.
And now today, Ole Miss, 13,000 tickets they were given. They sold them, but we were laughing because they're stuck down in the corner and up in the rafters. But I guess that's what you do, right?
Well, that's exactly right. And I would guess next year when the Mississippi State folks come to Oxford, they're probably not going to have real choice seats either. Hey, that's what college football is about. It's great interstate rivalries.
The high pitching wedge shot by Gardner. The fair catch called for about the 25-yard line. Again, Mississippi State churning the time off the clock. 8 plays, 40 yards, about 4 minutes or so. Russ Show's back in the game.
Well, this is a situation here where you, at least over on that sideline, you give a little pep talk to your offensive line. Beg them for a little protection right here so you can get something going.
Shows misses mark.
You can see Russ Shows limping as he tried to sprint to his left on that weak left ankle and then really not getting his body turned upfield, throws high in the direction of Vincent Brownlee.
Steve, you'll be going back to Oxford where you're a Mississippi State fan. Will you be bragging a little bit?
No, not really. When you live in Oxford and you're a State fan, you stay kind of quiet.
If this keeps up, I'm going to kind of ease out of town myself today, Doug.
I was wondering what Steve might be doing when he goes home.
That is something. Mississippi State man living in Oxford. You've been there quite a while, haven't you, Steve?
Been there about 6 or 7 years.
Well, it's a nice little town, I'll tell you that.
Good gain there, Marvin Courtney. You said you had coffee with Billy Brewer the other day? He came by the store, is that right?
He came in the store and was just talking about things, and he was talking about the injury factor that he had, the reason they were having one of the reasons they were having a tough year.
Well, Doug, Billy Brewer's kind of been taking his licks the last 5 weeks. But Billy Brewer's done a great job as the head coach at the University of Mississippi. Took a program that was in bad shape. He's been SEC Coach of the Year 3 times and had Ole Miss in bowl game since he's been there, and he really gets the most out of his players, and every player that leaves there has the utmost respect, loves Billy Brewer.
3rd and 3, Shows takes it himself and gets the first down.
Archie and I were both talking. It's tough for both of these schools to really compete on a high level with your Alabamas, your Auburns year in and year out. It's a good credit to both these coaches that they've done as well as they have this year.
Well, you've got your brother schools, as Steve said, like Tennessee and Alabama, the facilities and the monies that they have in their athletic budgets is just not the same for Ole Miss and Mississippi State. They really do fight a war, and then of course battle here in the state for the athletes in this state and have to go up against these other schools, along with Mississippi Southern.
The pitch back.
I guess that's Southern Mississippi, excuse me.
Dew Innocent on the carry there. Russ Shows again limping. Archie was talking about that injury, and he is limping more and more.
And I saw Tyrone Ashley limp off the field.
Down to 2 minutes, 2nd and 4.
Here comes that blitz.
Mississippi State very aggressive, very quick in on the tackle. Keough Coleman, one of those inside linebackers.
That's what Archie was talking about. He saw the blitz coming, and that's what they were doing.
Well, a lot of times an option can be a good play if you can get to the outside. Coleman came so quick and just disrupted things. A lot of people don't understand, but a blitz can be a really good defense against the run. Those guys are filling the right gap.
Yeah, look at his ankles taped up. He's limping.
I don't think Russ expected to play near this much today. Of course, an early concussion to Tommy Lugan. He's had to go the distance. I think he's hung in there tough. He's in trouble here.
Doing a good job scrambling for yardage. That could have been a late hit.
I'm surprised we hadn't had any more penalties than we've had this game.
Yeah,
it's been a good game.
It's pretty clean so far. You know, they had the most unbelievable fight in the first quarter of the game in Jackson last year, 1990 game. It's the longest fight I've ever seen in a football game. And then what was so ironic about it, that was in the first quarter, and then throughout the rest of the game, I didn't see a single other shove or no other fights or anything. I thought it would go on forever.
Got it out of their system, I guess. 30 seconds to play in the third quarter. Brad Gray, the southpaw punter. Let's go. They've come close to blocking it just about every time. There's James, the fumble. This is
Ole Miss recovered his own
Reds jump on it.
Oh, they're going to give it to Mississippi State.
It looked like the man who recovered it was out of bounds.
Yeah, you know what happened? His shoulders and arms were on the ball, but his feet, it's kind of like a wrestling match when you get your feet outside the ring.
Yeah.
You know? He had his feet on the sideline, so the official decided to give it to Mississippi State. Boy, that was a dangerous play by the outstanding return man, James, there. He dropped it.
Good call by the official.
Yep, there it is right there. 37 is Scott Schwatzel.
Schwatzel's a running back out of Thomasville, Alabama. He did fall on the ball, but his feet were out of bounds.
You saw Tony James take a shot in the shoulder, and they're looking at him on the sidelines, and that would be a big-time blow for the Bulldogs.
Well, it really
One
was.
game to go.
Such a big play man for Mississippi State and return man. Of course, you hope it's nothing serious where he'd have to miss the opportunity to play in the Liberty Bowl.
Galloway up the middle, and that'll be the last play of the third quarter. With the Bulldogs in command, 24-3. Been a relatively quick game and a relatively clean game, as Steve and Archie mentioned before. And there's Tony James. Took a vicious shot on his shoulder, and that's what they're looking at.
At least being hobbled. There he is, Russ Shows, again favoring that ankle. I could see he and Red Parker talking on the sideline, both kind of shaking their heads, both trying to test that ankle and figure, can he go the rest of the way? If he does not, well, then the attention turns to Steve Davis as we enter the final period of the Egg Bowl 1991, and the Rebels trailing 24-3. Doug?
Always a hard-hitting affair. Tony James back on his feet and appears to be okay. First play of the fourth quarter. The ball is on the 29-yard line. It's 2nd and 7. Nowhere to go. Sleepy gets bottled up, and there's that guy I love, number 99, Sean O'Malley, 5'9", 250.
Like Jeff Carter just crashed in from a strong safety spot right there and disrupted that option play. Pretty good lick there, huh, Steve?
It's a good lick. I enjoy to see a good, strong safety come up and make a good play.
Jeff Carter's been an outstanding player for Ole Miss. 3-year letterman, a senior out of Tuscaloosa, Alabama, wears number 38. Number that was worn by Chucky Mullins. Jeff awarded that jersey after spring training this year. Oh, a nice move there by Sleepy Robinson.
Sleepy Robinson breaks the tackle, breaks free, up around the 46-yard line. First down State. There's that man, Sleepy Robinson again. He's everywhere.
Ole Miss missing some tackles in the defense. Sleepy, very shifty runner there, doing a good job of cutting back across the grain. Option play, cuts inside. Like Tyrone Ashley's in on defense now. Two-way player for Ole Miss. You know, Wesley Walls was the All-American at Ole Miss. Now the San Francisco 49ers played some both ways his last year at Ole Miss.
1st and 10, the pitch back. Tackle or two broken, and then wrestled down is Kenny Roberts. And the storyline so far, Ole Miss 0 rushing yards. Turnovers even. And Sleepy Robinson, if you had to pick a star, might as well be him.
Well, 6 for 8 on the day. Or the numbers on rushing just completely lopsided, 195 to 0. And of course, the turnover situation with Ole Miss creating 2 turnovers, but the offense not able to do anything with them.
13 minutes to go in the ball game. Sleepy Robinson on the option, keeps it himself, gains a few, gets close to the first down. You saw the shot of that Ole Miss helmet. number 38 in memory of Chucky Mullins. And number 97 in the middle of the field, and Jackie Sherrill wears it on a sticker, is Rodney Stowers, the young man who died earlier this season, complications due to an injury.
Well, what a tragedy.
Sad time.
Talking with the line coach, Keith Jenkins, just an outstanding coach, came from LSU, just talking about dealing with that for his players.
Archie, we saw Steve Davis warming up on the sideline. We maybe see him the next series.
Steve Davis is a senior, just played a limited amount of time in his years at Ole Miss out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I think his numbers just played in the LSU game this year, I believe, 8 for 12. You really got a feel for Russ Shiles, because he'd love to be out there, but it's hard to play against a great pass rush any day, but especially when you've got a bad ankle. I think he showed a lot of courage today in the effort that he gave.
It's 4th down and a long 2. Bulldogs will kick. Mike Riley.
I don't think State would fake it right here, but it'd be a good spot for one.
Would be a good spot. The Ole Miss defense has not been able to force State to punt many times today, but it's got to pat them on the back a little bit. There's one thing about a Billy Brewer team, you won't see any quit in them. That's been the case over the last 4 weeks as they've endured this losing streak. And Billy said he's been proud of his players and the character in their heart, because they've been in some tough situations and have not quit.
There's Jackie Sherrill, constantly writing things down on the sidelines. Always has that pen in his hand, always jotting down notes. Highly successful wherever he's been. There's a successful punt, a high, towering punt. Fielded at the 8-yard line. And brought down for a loss right around the 7-yard line is Vincent Brownlee.
Well, Vincent Brownlee playing in his last college game, just been an exciting return man for Ole Miss, trying to make something happen.
Is there a flag on him?
I saw a bunch of paper going out. I believe it is a flag, Steve.
They might have grabbed the face mask.
A lot of times you get a clip on that, but occasionally when it's that late thrown in that vicinity, it could have been a face mask.
5-yard face mask against the defense, tacked on to the end of the run, be 1st down 10.
Like Vincent Brownlee trying to turn the corner. There's Mr. Harris again. Boy, we've seen a lot of him today. He reaches in for the tackle and I think grabs that mask. And somebody else tattoos Vincent pretty. I saw something last night in a high school game I've never seen before. Offsetting face mask. Receiver had the ball, tried to stiff arm. He grabbed the mask and the defender grabbed him. Nullified the play.
Oh. Shiles almost connect.
Yeah, Shiles is back in. Steve Davis was warming up. Looks like Russ is going to try to hang in there. Great effort by Vincent Brownlee trying to bring that sideline pattern in. This strong arm throw right here, Steve. Hard to throw that ball to the left. Got a lot of RPMs on it.
I thought when he let it go, see the corner broke in front looking for the interception. He threw a little high.
It's a good thing. Tony Harris trying to get a little more glory today. He's had an outstanding game at the cornerback spot for Mississippi State.
Handoff up the middle. Big yardage and a 1st down for Ole Miss.
By far the best running play that Ole Miss has had today. That's Tyrone Ashford. Not sure what his injury was earlier, but it looked like his leg just kind of gave out on him there as he got downfield, Steve. Now he's going to limp off.
Looks like his knees bothered him some way.
It has been a rough afternoon for Ole Miss, as Phil has reported all afternoon. Almost like a mass unit down there. Injured players everywhere. Tom Wood, the quarterback, taken to the hospital for a possible concussion.
Russ decides just to dump that one out in the flat. You know, I think that's what Ole Miss is going to have to do when State drops back in their zone. It's not be greedy, just take some short and intermediate type throws, and then if they can catch State in the blitz and keep them out of there, they go for the home run.
10:50 and counting on the clock.
It's getting cold up here, fellas.
Sure is. I'm bouncing around trying to keep warm.
Try to run the option inside. I believe that was Courtney. Russ Shiles gave the ball to, stacked up by that front four and linebacking core of Mississippi State. Two innocents in the game along with Courtney at the other running back spot.
3rd and 1 from the 34. The Rebels try to keep the ball, maintain possession. It's been a struggle in these short yardage situations all afternoon.
Well, Ole Miss goes to their version of the wishbone right here. This is going to be a tough 2 yards. Good job by Russ Shows in reading the option. He gets that long body forward, and I believe picks up the first down.
Looks like he got it there, signaling first down. There's some happy Bulldogs.
Some big Bulldogs.
Big Bulldogs. There's Steve Davis.
Mark the ball at the 36, gain of 2, first down Rebels.
Russ Shows dives for the first down. Ball on the 36. We're under 10 minutes to play. Shows back to pass. And batted down again. We've said that a few times today, and that time it was Wesley Leasy.
Doug, you were talking about maybe Ole Miss thought State had a weak secondary. That makes up for a weak secondary right there.
They're very aggressive, blitz a lot. They not only have big, heavy linemen, but tall linemen.
Well, that's a good defensive play there. Really, his man had him blocked. Just good reaction there and seeing the ball released by Russ Shows, getting his hands up, knocks it down.
State showing blitz again.
Let's see if they fall out of it. Yeah.
Shows open receiver. I believe he dropped it. Eddie Small gets hit hard.
Eddie went down and hooked at about the 17, 18-yard mark. Russ put the ball right on his numbers. Actually, right on his number. He's number 4 there. And Eddie Small could not hold on. Good route. Come back to the football now.
And a good hit, good pop. Tony Harris. Very aggressive cornerback, hard hitter. Third down, 10. And it's a first down. Keeping the drive alive.
A nice catch by Derek Owens, a senior receiver, split in 6'2", 195. Just a little break-in route. Good protection provided for Russ Shows right there. Ole Miss picks up a first down.
Rebels in a hurry-up offense. 9.5 minutes to go. Wasted little time with that one. And it looked like a penalty there. He was sacked, but he was offside. That was Keith Joseph, but he jumped across before the ball was snapped.
That'll be a 5-yard penalty against Mississippi State. Of course, it doesn't make Russ Shows feel any better.
No.
Taking that shot.
He's been pounded all afternoon, of course.
Defense, all sides, 5 yards, repeating first down.
State's done that to just about every quarterback they've played.
34 sacks lead the SEC. Russ came into today's game completing 88 of 168 passes, 52%. Had just 3 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. Had an 80-yarder versus Kentucky. That was his best game this year, and then he was injured just 2 weeks later.
First down and 5, quick handoff, and another first down. Now they're getting things on track. That's Do Innocent. Love that name, D-O-U, Do Innocent.
Ole Miss has come out in that formation twice and run that same play twice. They've kind of spread Mississippi State out and run right up the middle.
Big hole. Good blocking up front. Crowd's into it.
Here comes the blitz.
Shows going for it all. Out of bounds. Good coverage again. Flag down.
Sure is. Like the wind played havoc with that pass a little bit. Of course, Russ throwing that ball, trying to throw a fade route down the sideline to Vincent Brownlee, throwing right into the wind. Well, we've got a flag over there right around the 2-yard line. Let's see what the call is.
After the play was over, personal foul on the defense, 15 yards from the line of scrimmage, plus automatic first down.
Called it on Edward Williams after the play. The ball went out of bounds, and then I guess he must have done something out of bounds against Brownlee. Watch it now. And then he rolls him over, and
didn't look too bad to me. But we'll take it.
That wasn't a very good call right there.
Deepest penetration of the day for Ole Miss down around the 14-yard line.
They'll take it. 8:44 on the clock. First and 10.
Looks like Russ is giving some hand signals here on a pass route.
Too hard.
Good coverage again out there by Harris. Trying to throw the slant in. I think Rush Show's anticipating a blitz right there and got it. Just good, tough inside coverage by Harris on the corner.
Harris was supposed to have inside position. He wouldn't let the receiver take it away from him. Good play.
You can hear the crowd. They like Brownlee and Owens are the wide receivers for Ole Miss now. Let's see if Red Parker may not try to slip in a draw or a trap play somewhere on this series.
Crowd does not want the Rebels to get in the end zone. A field goal's enough. The lob pass. Touchdown. No connection. Almost. Vincent Brownlee thought he had it. Rips off his helmet. I thought he had it.
I thought he had it, but I did not see him with the football once he came down. It's a great effort by Vincent Brownlee.
Watch the replay. It was pretty close.
Well, it's bump and run coverage on the outside, just running the fade route there. Probably didn't get in Harris's face enough before he ran the fade. Harris got his hands on it. Now he lays out.
Nope.
No,
good call.
Ball hit the ground, then it bounced up to him.
Upon further review, wait a minute. That doesn't happen in college, does it? There's Shows handing off up the middle, due innocent.
There's that trap play we were talking about. And Ole Miss, looking at it as 4 down territory, tried to slip a trap play in there. Here's the dive by Vincent Brownlee. See the ball slide right through his arms there and hit the ground, then come right back to it. I threw my helmet down like that one time, Steve, and it about 15 pieces. Had to go out of the game to get another.
I played in Buffalo. You didn't take your hat off in Buffalo.
Under 8 minutes.
Oh, it's loud.
4th and 6, ball on the 11.
Tough situation for Rush Shows, having to change the play at the line of scrimmage, trying to do it with hand signals. 25-second clock runs out, and that cost him 5 yards. Just about got to call a play in the huddle right here and go with it. Now, State done a lot of blitzing today. This is a part of the field where you usually get man-to-man coverage.
State's coming on the blitz.
Flag down.
Jump.
Shows to Brownlee.
Gonna have interference over here on number 30.
Pass is intercepted, but a couple of flags down. One on that play, and then one right after the snap.
Just depends on who jumped. The Ole Miss may have had illegal procedure prior to the snap of the ball there.
State celebrating.
Had movement by the offense. We had defensive pass interference. The penalty's all set. We replay 4th down.
Try it again.
Okay, one more time. Why not?
Yeah, this is Red Parker's been around a long time. This is a place where you need to pull one out of your hat right here. You need to give them something they hadn't seen before.
Blow the dust off something, huh?
Yeah.
Go deep in the playbook.
I wish I could suggest something. I'm not sure what it is. It's pretty tough defense. Once again, they're up there faking the blitz. I think they're going to fall out of it this time. It's a good throw right
First
there.
down. Nice throw. Good catch.
Well, Rush Shows takes another lick.
Derek Owens.
I'm not sure he's going to get up. Yeah, he's coming up. Slow.
That was a nice pass.
That was a good throw.
Good pass pattern. Good route. Good timing.
And a nice read by Rush Shows. You know what you got to do there. When you see they're not going to blitz, and sometimes there's an adjustment there. He threw that sideline right on timing. The coverage was good. And for the first time today, Ole Miss is inside the 5-yard line of Mississippi State.
First down and goal to go. On the 4. Rush Shows trying to get the Reds in the end zone. Handoff up the middle. Maybe a gain of 1, maybe not. Marvin Courtney.
Red Parker's upset about something.
Well, I think he probably thought Rush should have kept the ball on the option play there. It's something about it. I think when you got a real tender left ankle, though, you tend to give it a little more.
Bulldogs D has been stingy when it comes to running against him.
Yeah, he's given up, what, about 6 touchdowns this year?
Only 6 all year, so they go to the air. They saw the graphic, I guess. Touchdown, Rebels. They're on the board.
What a great catch by, who's that, Derek Owens, number 1?
Derek Owens.
Nice throw by Russ Childs. Boy, he deserves that touchdown, the punishment he's taking today.
State was bound to get burned in that blitz, so they've been coming in 3 or 4 times in a row, and they've been close to hitting that fade last few times.
Live by the sword, die by it. I got to do a game tomorrow night, fellas, the Saints and the Falcons. We'll see a little blitzing in that one, too. Jerry Glanville will be bringing it.
The Grits blitz, right?
I played for Jerry for 1 year. He was the secondary coach in Buffalo for a year. A lot of people around the country don't know if they really like Jerry, but I like him. He makes you play hard, and he makes you be the best ball player you can be.
Well, I tell you what, when they come off the bus blitzing when they come to town.
Sure do.
That's going to be a good game.
Extra point, no good. 24-9 is the score. Here's the touchdown. Childs to Derek Owens. Very nice, very nice.
Well, you see the bump and run. He just takes that release to the outside. Russ Childs. Nice catch right there. A lot of people feel like Owens is the most talented of the receiving corps for the Ole Miss Rebels. 6'2", 195.
He's a senior. Is he going to get drafted?
Someone told me they felt like all 3 of these senior receivers would be drafted from Ole Miss. I understand that possibly all 3 of them are going to be in postseason all-star games. I think all 3 of them have an excellent chance to be on somebody's pro team next year. Brownlee, of course, such great ability as a return man.
88-yard drive, Archie. That makes you happy. That wiped away a few frowns.
Yeah, you're down a little bit, but it does make you feel good. It gives your defense a rest for one thing, and then the offense who suffered throughout the day. I mean, you got to look for something to feel good about and to move it down the field against a good defense. As I said, Billy Brewer team will not quit, will not give up. You know, the other receiver who we haven't mentioned much today, Tyrone Montgomery, his brother was a pretty fair running back in the NFL. You played against him some, huh, Steve?
Right. Wilbur.
Tony James back in the game. Shoulder injury didn't keep him down long. Runs it out to the 31.
He took that like a baseball outfielder. He dropped back and took it on the run.
Hey, let's not forget Friday night at 7:30 Eastern time. It's live NBA action. San Antonio against the Atlanta Hawks. The Spurs, led by the Admiral David Robinson, will go against the Neek, Dominique Wilkins, and the Hawks. It's live NBA warfare. Spurs Hawks Friday night 7:30. Sports South. It's been a cold day here in Starkville. About 6.5 minutes to go in the game. Kenny Roberts scoots to the outside.
There's your speed, Archie, turning that corner.
Boy, he's quick. That's a pretty good man. He's out running to the corner. I know he's a lot bigger than Philip Kent. A lot of people at the beginning of the year felt like he's the best pro prospect of Ole Miss. He's playing today with a sore hamstring and a sore heel.
You're right, though. In that Liberty Bowl, Air Force, they run the bone. Oh, once they start running in Mississippi State, thank goodness for TV commercials, right? Or that game will be over quick.
Yeah, the Liberty Bowl's a good bunch of folks. A lot of them. Jan Gwynn, who played right here at Mississippi State. It was a fellow from Memphis who gave the bid to Mississippi State in their dressing room last week after defeating LSU. I played with Jan in the Mississippi High School All-Star game about 100 years ago. Played guard here at Mississippi State, and a good fellow. He's on the Liberty Bowl committee.
This is a big play for Ole Miss right here. They need to shut them down and get the ball back. Put a drive together and score before this game gets too far out of hand here, out of time.
Washington's come back, leads Washington State 20-7, and Stanford on top of California 7-0 second quarter. Boy, that's talk about an interstate rivalry, intercity rivalry.
No surprise there. Stanford's a pretty good ball club.
Good play for Ole Miss.
Think of that game, you think of that great play when the band came on the field. And
well, Stanford's had a good year, and California has really got an outstanding team. Well, Ole Miss not giving up. Defense for the second time in a row. Force State to punt it away and give the offense the ball again, even though State will be punting with the wind. Sure, Mr. Brownlee would like to get his hands on this and make something happen.
There's the punt, a low line driver.
Good return ball.
Brownlee on the 21. Cuts back. Decides to go forward. Couldn't make up his mind, I guess.
Good coverage. We got a late flag here. It's like might have been Ternell Edwards had a little extracurricular activity there. We'll see what it is. You know, the hardest thing to do in a game like this is when somebody gives you a little shot is not to retaliate. And of course, usually they see the second punch thrown.
Personal foul against the kicking team on the run back, 15 yards.
Ole Miss set up again.
That was Ternell Edwards, tight end out of Philadelphia, Mississippi.
Time is definitely not on their side, but as Steve mentioned, touchdown here, and they can make it respectable, 24-9.
They definitely like to get in the game. Here's a sprint out pass. That's good reaction out there on the corner from Mississippi State. That was number 20, Edwin Williams. Good reaction. Now, I think Russ Shouts thought he had Brownlee wide open and tried to take a little something off of it right there. Didn't quite put enough RPMs on it. And just a good reaction by Williams. Ball thrown a little bit behind Brownlee.
Second and 10, ball's on the 40, 4:25 to go in the ball game. Foul is complete. Crowd reacts.
Oh, God, I missed that.
I thought it was a little late hit. Archie, I think with that play being thrown twice, we might look for an out and up here in just a minute.
Jermaine Cone, the freshman receiver out of Jacksonville, Florida, on that reception. Well, it looks like Stephen State does not blitz, and they're trying to roll up zone on both sides right there, which usually is vulnerable to the middle. That was an underneath guy right there. Ole Miss had a chance to hit that fade down the sideline earlier today, and Brownlee couldn't hold on.
Watson Brown hired as the offensive coordinator here. Mississippi State has done a good job.
There it is.
Intercepted. Knight, Kelvin Knight, brings it back to the 38.
Well, we just said it's kind of that double zone, vulnerable down the middle to your tight end. You can't blame Russ Shouts for that one. A good tight throw. Like J.J. Armstrong got his hands on it, right into the hands of the Mississippi State defender.
Fans here in Starkville celebrating on that interception. They took a deep sigh of relief, and they're kicking back. It's time to celebrate, right?
Yeah, I think that was Derek Owens, number 1, on that break-in route right there. J.J. Armstrong made the tackle. Good blocking for Russ Shouts. Ball just thrown a little high and hard. Derek couldn't bring it in, and Williamson from State on the handoff, running hard, breaking a couple of tackles. Clock running now, 3:36, 3:35.
Mark the ball at the 40-yard line. Gain of 3, second and 7.
2nd and 7. Time's ticking away. Looks like State's going to go to 7 and 4. And the Rebs will end the year 5 and 6. Ole Miss looking or hoping coming into this game for their 3rd straight winning season, as we said off the top of the show. But it doesn't appear it's going to happen today. Last time they had 3 straight winning seasons back when Archie was there.
Well, it's been a while. Billy Brewer's done a good job the last 2 years. Had Ole Miss in the bowl. Ole Miss was just in the Liberty Bowl 2 years ago. Of course, in the Gator Bowl last year.
State continues to pile up the yardage on the ground.
Good tackle right there. Nice lick by Pete Harris. Pete came in today's game injured. Missed last week's game because of the death of his grandfather.
It's back to the bone. For the Bulldogs, up the middle. First time we've seen Michael Davis today, the big freshman fullback. He's been on the sidelines.
Where's he been? I mean, they bring William Prince in. He carries it one time, gains about 40, then they arrest him the rest of the day.
We should say this copyrighted telecast is an exclusive presentation of VideoSeat, a division of Host Creative Communications, any use, rebroadcast, or other transmission. of this telecast without the written consent of host Creative Communications is prohibited. There you see the time. Ball at about the 48-yard line. There's Cutright again. And one of my favorite stories, now that the ball's close to the 50-yard line, I've been waiting to use this all day. There's the Egg Bowl. Back in 1936, Bᴜʟʟᴅᴏ, their first mascot, got hit by a school bus right outside the stadium, and they buried it, buried Bᴜʟʟᴅᴏ underneath the state bench on the 50-yard line. Life magazine was here. Right? One of my favorite stories. Yeah, that's the memory of Bᴜʟʟᴅᴏ lives on. Egg Bowl trophy will now stay in Starkville. Rebels brought it here.
State won their last game in 1987, 30-20, if I'm not mistaken. Only loss. This will be Billy Brewer's second loss to Mississippi State as a player and coach.
All smiles on the side of the Bulldogs. And I think we're getting out of here at the perfect time, considering the temperature continues to drop. And the wind.
Archie and I just both looked at our watch, and it's almost 4 o'clock. This has been a quick game.
It has. And of course, a lot of credit to that to go to Mississippi State, the way they've run the football and controlled the football.
Sleepy Robinson, don't tell me he was looking to pass the ball. He's going to scramble. High stepping it.
Well, there's a case of Sleepy making about a 25-yard gain out of what should have been a 7 or 8 yard loss. Ole Miss just not wrapping it up.
Was Sleepy really trying to pass the ball there?
That was a little bootleg action. Philip Kent had it read but couldn't get his hands on it. Then somebody just came flying in out of control.
I think there's about 28,000, maybe 30,000 fans who'd like to see another touchdown for the men in maroon.
Ole Miss called a timeout earlier. I'm not sure they're going to be trying to stop the clock anymore.
Up the middle it goes. 1 minute to play in Egg Bowl 1991.
I need to say hello, fellas, to a friend of mine in Jackson, Cat Sabulis. Cat's been not feeling too well lately. Big Ole Miss fan and a big Saints fan. Hope he's feeling better.
Time's ticking away. Wait till next year is the cry from Ole Miss. There's the trophy. The score of every game they've played inscribed on that trophy.
Delay the game.
Sleepy's limping just a little bit. Probably just tired.
The Golden Egg came about, guys, in 1927, because after the 1926 game in which Ole Miss won 7-6, a major brawl broke out on the field here when the Rebel fans charged on the field to tear down the goalpost, and well, the Bulldog fans took exception to that, and so they picked up their cane-bottom chairs, charged onto the field, and started hitting the Rebel fans in the head with the chairs. It got so out of hand, they decided we need to do something, and they came up with the Egg Bowl, and this year, it'll stay in Starkville. The final 24-9. Jackie Sherrill gets the ride, and Billy Brewer will shake his hand. That cannon will wake you up, huh?
Oh.
It's been written and documented. Billy Brewer, Jackie Sherrill, they've had a few words thrown each other's way. They shake hands as we go down to the field. Phil Van Horn.
Jackie Sherrill, congratulations on a commanding performance on both sides of the ball and a win in your first battle of the Egg Bowl. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I certainly appreciate our seniors' effort. There's no question that we've got better and better every game. And this was the game at our place. It was our last game as seniors, and they've made a lot of things happen. But I think that the crowd having this game on campus was something that's really a great thing for us, for Mississippi State, and certainly for the state. I appreciate y'all being here to telecast.
Jackie, do me a favor. This is a special event. Look around us right now and describe this scene for some of those fans out there watching who couldn't be here today.
Well, the biggest thing is that all the Mississippi State people around the country can hold their head up, stick their chest out.
Talk about looking ahead from now on into the Liberty Bowl. Looks like you'll be favored against Air Force.
Well, I'm not really worried about that. I want to celebrate this for a long time.
All right, Jackie Sherrill, congratulations on a victory. Thanks a lot for the hospitality here this week. All right, that's head coach Jackie Sherrill. Mississippi State has the victory, 24-9. Let's go back up to the booth. We'll be back down here with some more interviews in a minute, we hope. Doug?
It looked like tears were in the eyes of Jackie Sherrill. Archie Manning, Steve Freeman, you've both played in this. You've been a part of this for a long time. First, tell me how it feels to be a part of it, and then comments on the game. Archie?
Well, there's nothing like winning. And, of course, this is a great rivalry. You know, there's people in other parts of the country that may not give a hoot about the Ole Miss Mississippi State, but people in Mississippi, it's big to them, and it's big to these two football teams. Mississippi State, who's had an outstanding year. Dewey Brewer talked coming in the game about the confidence of their football team, and I think that's what you saw today. They're a very confident team coming in the game. They took control of the game, and they held on. Ole Miss, who has not played well the last few years, kind of had one arm tied behind them in a lot of situations, but they played hard. They didn't quit, and they made a good showing here today. But the best football team won today, and they're a good representative of the Liberty Bowl, and I think they'll do very well there. And a lot of credit should go to them and Jackie Sherrill and his coaching staff and their senior players.
Steve, as we look at the storyline, I think I see your face smiling a little bit, being the old Bulldog, huh?
That's right. We talked to Coach Jackie yesterday in his office. He said, he was asked the question, what do you think about your team right now? He said, I wish we were just starting our season. He said these guys have just within the last 3 weeks learned how to practice. They're starting to have fun at the game, and that all comes from winning. It's just exactly what happened today. These guys are out here celebrating right now, and that's all part of it.
Phil, you have a happy man, don't you?
Well, hectic is a good word for what's going on down here right now. Tony Harris with me. He had those 2 big turnovers in the first half. Tony, describe the wild scene we just had right in front of the fans here with that Egg Bowl trophy.
Well, you know, this is the first time we beat Mississippi in 17 years. It's just a great feeling. You know, when they come here, they're going to stay at home for a while, though. You know, they're going to stay at home for a while.
All right, stay with me, guys, right here. We got the trophy right to the side. We'll try to manage this somehow. Guys, why don't you go ahead and describe what you just been through, going around showing the trophy.
It's a great feeling, baby. Here it is. We got it home. One's going to stay, baby. One's going to stay for a long time. Yeah! Let's take it to the house.
Well, Doug, I guess you can tell from that series right there and from right there, this is a jubilant scene down here on the Scott Field turf. Let's go back up to you.
Well, I tell you what. Words can't describe that. Happy Mississippi State Bulldogs. Steve Freeman, you heard him say it's not going to leave Starkville for a while. With the young talent they have, I guess you agree.
I agree 100%. I think they're a club on the field, and like Jackie said yesterday, he expects this team in the next couple of years to be a contender for the SEC championship.
Archie,
all right, I've been as nice as I can be now. I'm going to take issue with that. I don't think it's going to stay here very long. I'll give credit to Mississippi State, but as I said before, it's a great rivalry, and it's special no matter what happens in these team season, and Mississippi State did the job today.
Well, pleasure working with both of you, gentlemen. Today's game has been a presentation of Host Creative Communications, and while we show you the names and credits of the people who've made the broadcast possible, we would thank all of them for a job well done. In addition, we'd like to thank the athletic director of Mississippi State, Larry Templeton, head coach Jackie Sherrill, his staff, and sports information director, Joe Deere. We would also like to thank the athletic director at Ole Miss, Warner Alford, head coach Billy Brewer, his staff, sports information director Langston Rogers. Technical facilities provided by 2 Productions of Knoxville, Tennessee. The final score, Mississippi State 24, Ole Miss 9. For Phil Van Horn, Steve Freeman, Archie Manning, I'm Doug Bell. So long, everybody.